time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right. Today's September 9th, 2025. You're listening to MMO number 185, and from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where I'm doing my best to remember how we do this, I'm John G. Dew.
That is right. First time back in the saddle in 2 weeks, and it's good to be home, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be home and inside and not in a tree stand getting rained on.
Where were you in a tree stand?
I was in northern Minnesota. It's a very, very small town. In fact, it's got a store, a gas station, and a bar, and I believe a church. Called Leonard, Minnesota. Very far north.
Leonard.
Yeah.
Did you meet Leonard?
I didn't meet Leonard. I met a lot of men with a lot of heavy accents, though. Oh yeah,
Did you have some fun at their expense.
Everyone had a lot of fun. It was. I will tell you, if you ever have the opportunity to go to a bear camp or a camp for bears, where you hunt bears. I'm not talking about LGBTQ San Francisco bears. I'm talking about North Woods black bears. You should go. There's a guy that worked at a cheese factory. Oh, I brought up about 15 pounds of cheese with me, so I figure, 26 guys, 15 pounds of cheese. We should be good for, at least a day and a half. Lots of good.
And did you rough it out there for a day and a half, or did you have a camp to go back to?
Yeah, we had a cabin. So basically, this guy, and he gave me all of his Tacticam. He shared all of his Tacticams with me. He's got 44 bait stands, however many thousands of acres. And you go out in the morning if you'd like, or an afternoon hunt, and you sit in a blind and you wait for a bear. I had a fun location, which was just south of this Indian reservation, where there are no roads around. So you have to drive through this farm field, and then you hike. And you hike for, I don't know, probably about a mile to get to a location, and it's good fun in the day, but then at night it's kind of creepy when you're walking out in pitch black with your flashlight, knowing that the worst case scenario is running into a sow with her cubs, which I didn't.
Yeah.
What didn't happen, but I did get hissed at pretty good by a skunk.
Not sprayed though.
Not sprayed. I think skunks have a couple levels of odor emittance. Because I scared it good, and I think it might have kind of sharded, because there's definitely the odor of a skunk, but it wasn't as bad as you would think it would be. So,
Well, good.
Yeah.
Did you bag a bear?
This is the part that's the most frustrating. The bear season runs for 6 weeks. I was there for Monday through Friday. I was hunting 4:30 a.m. to about 8 a.m., and then 2:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Sunrise and sunset are your best opportunities. And no, I did not bag a bear. Neither did my dad. There were 26 guys in camp. I think there were about 13 bears that were harvested. So I need to try to sell it with a lease. I imagine that it might be tough, but I think I'm going to try to go up there in a couple of weeks for a long weekend.
Wow, gonna go back until you get one, huh?
Yeah. I flew into Milwaukee, and my dad and I drove from Sheboygan, and it was 9 hours. And then when I looked at a map, imagine that, I realized it's only 12 hours from St. Louis. So it's very doable. Very doable. I just have to convince a incredibly 7.5-month pregnant wife that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Therein lies the rub. Trust me.
You will enjoy your time alone.
I want to be home with you, but guess what? I also want a bear rug behind me for when I do the podcast.
We have to eat.
That's right.
You understand?
Oh, man, I tried bear heart. I can't tell you how good it was. It was like steak. Amazing. A little chewier than steak, but good steak.
So that's interesting. I've never had bear heart. I've had bear. I think it was bear sausage that I had, and it's oily, but it was good. Interesting bear heart. I've never had that, but I'm interested in it.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of beef heart.
Yeah, beef heart is good. I've had that at a Brazilian, one of those places where they bring meat up to you on a sword, and they just keep bringing it to you
Yes.
unless you tell them to stop.
Yeah, you have the card.
Yeah, you flip it
Either
over.
red or green.
Yep, yeah, exactly. You've been green for a long time, sir. I know, keep her coming. You're sweating profusely. I don't care.
Sir, either flip the card or put your shoes on.
That's right. No, but it was a good time. It was so much fun up there. What I learned was much like any other kind of animal, goose, turkey, you really want to get a young one, and so the target weight is to hit like a 150 pounder because it's young, and the meat just tastes better when they're younger.
Right.
But the guy in the blind next to me on night 2 hit a 400 pounder. And this was, when I was hiking a mile in near this Indian reservation. So on night 2, when I was packing everything up, I was sure to pull out my 357 Magnum and have that ready to go after I saw that there's those level of monsters roaming around in the woods. But for the most part,
That's a big bear.
Pretty safe, yeah. And that wasn't the end of the excitement. So it was a good time at camp. Lots of good stories are had. There's an 88-year-old guy who was kind of like the cook. He's the dad of the outfitter, telling stories, asking me crazy things like, you ever hear the song One Meatball? Like, no, I haven't heard that one. Just that kind of stuff. But coming home from Milwaukee, TSA found something in my bag. They found in a little clear baggie 6 rounds of 357 Magnum.
Oh.
Yeah. And this coming after I denied the facial recognition thing. I opted out of it. Right. And I was wearing a Ruby Ridge t-shirt. So not the greatest. But it was cool.
Well, no one can call you a poser.
That's right. That's right. So
now, when is your hearing?
No, so this is the fun part. They're like, oh, the TSA is like, we found ammunition in your bag. They brought me to the separate room, and they're like, we're gonna have the cop on duty come in and talk to you.
The Inquisitor.
Right. And so the guy comes in, and he's like, he's basically like, why is there ammo in your bag? And I told him, I was just hunting in northern Minnesota for a bear for a week. I had the hat that they gave me on, and I had my Minnesota bear tag, sadly unspent, in my backpack as well. He didn't ask any of that. He goes, did you see any? He's like, can I see some photos?
Come on, man, I hate this job.
Right. Pretty much it. They checked me for warrants, and they're like, you're good. Just don't do it 2 or 3 more times. Otherwise there might be some issues. So
right.
There's that. So if you do bring ammo to the airport, it's like a 3-strike rule. The first time, it's cool. Just make sure you have a good backstory. The second time, I think they might start to press you a little bit.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But enough about me. How have you been?
Good. Nothing that exciting in the last couple of weeks. I don't know. I have to think back to see what I did for the last 2 weeks. It was kind of different not having to get ready for the show starting Sunday night. But it was good. It was nice to take a break. I do recall being relaxed and a bit relieved that there was no work to be done on Sunday and Monday before Tuesday. And I think it was a good break. I don't know if I had as much fun as you did out bear hunting, but I did finish phase 2 of my front yard fence that I'm building.
Hell yeah.
And cut some logs at my dad's sawmill for said fence, which was really nice to take a log and at the end of the phase 2 have the boards from said log on the fence.
A pine fence?
Yeah. Had to cut the 1x4s, sand them a little bit to get the fuzzies off, and then seal them real good.
Yeah, that's tough. I've been to Mississippi a few times. It's really hard to find pines down there.
Yeah. They're not just everywhere you
Yeah,
look.
exactly.
But I will say we have a really terrible quality pine. It's got really wide growth rings, so it doesn't have a lot of strength. It's nothing like the white pine in the north.
Get that southern yellow pine?
Yes.
Yeah. I've built stuff with yellow pine before. It's not bad. It's just, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You just don't want any kind of a load on it.
Right. Don't put your load on a yellow pine.
Right. But, that was nice to get that done. Phase 1 was putting the 4x4s in the ground, shooting them with the leveling instrument, making sure they were all straight across the top. And Phase 2 was connecting them all with the horizontal span boards. And I think Phase 3, instead of putting the pickets on, is going to be actually building the automatic sliding gate across the driveway, which I'm really excited about.
That's really nice. You need to get one of those motion detectors and then have a ham radio on you all the time, and the one that like double clicks your ham radio when somebody opens the gate.
Yeah.
So you know whether to shoot or help with groceries.
Well, instead of taking the time to build or salvage a motor and repurpose it for a sprocket and then get a chain and do that method, I think I'm just going to buy an opening motor that has, it's already waterproof, so it can sit outside, and it has the sprocket and the chain with it, and it already has the radio opening and closing as well, so I don't have to wire up the radio receiver. It'll all just come in a package. You can get a gate opener that'll move, I want to say 1,400 pounds on Amazon for like $250.
Wow. That could probably handle Chris Christie, huh?
Yeah, if Chris needed to get from one side of my driveway to the other,
that's his motive.
We got him set up. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, so I completely detached from society pretty much, which was so refreshing. I checked in.
Well, luckily, with where I live now, I was also able to do that.
Yeah.
Which I think was why it was so nice.
It was great. I checked in, and it was like, oh, some lady's shouting about a baseball. Enough of that.
I saw that, too.
I was like...
I saw that through my sports channels and wanted nothing to do with it.
Yep. I'll tell you what, if you ever want to have good, refreshing conversations where you can talk about whatever the hell you want, without feeling like you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, go to Bear Camp or listen to MMO. Those are the two places where it's safe to do. That or by John's fence. You'll be completely fine.
Yeah. You just may have to join in with yelling at me at some people who drive by my house too fast, but
shaking the fist.
Shaking a fist.
Raising your cane.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's about all I did, and like you said, disconnected, feeling refreshed, disconnected but feeling more connected than ever, if you will.
Yeah, Mother Nature.
Right. We actually had a really good day at the market last Saturday.
You got in? You were able to sell?
Oh, no, I didn't go to that one. I refused to go to that one. We went to our regular over here in the small town that knows it's a small town and doesn't have pretensions that it's something else.
I got you. It's not an exclusive club. You can't.
Right.
Barb's not going to deny you. Where's your waiver?
The funniest thing about that market is that they do it in a mall parking lot. So they could never run out of space, but they still have those pretensions. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I don't know, maybe 3 episodes ago, you got the farmer's market denial story. But in short, we were denied to come sell our wares at a farmer's market.
What were you trying to sell again?
Pickles.
No pickles for you.
We had pickles. We had a lot of pickles and vegetables, of course. But yeah, they already had 3 pickle vendors, which was the limit. So nobody else could sell pickles because we want everybody to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah, you deflate the pickle prices.
That makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, that if you want to hear that story, you can probably find it pretty easily. But no, that was just our regular hometown market where everybody knows us. I I think is starting to love us. So yeah, we had a good day there, and everything's been good with the family. You know, you'll learn that when the kids come along, it's day to day. You know, you have projects that you work on, but it's really just you enjoy the day, you enjoy the time you've got, because they're not the same little person they were the day before ever.
I get that entirely. That's what I kind of, you know, so I was around these guys, and there's one guy that had twins, and he was basically telling me, you know, your life's going to be difficult for about a year, really hard, but, you know, you get through that, and it's very rewarding. And I got a lot of fatherly advice, so I really used it as a way to say, you know, kind of say goodbye to this chapter of my life, and get psyched up for the next one. And I got a lot of sleep, too. I slept 10 hours last night, if you can believe it.
Nice.
I know. At least
you tend to run yourself a little ragged sometimes.
Every now and then, the problem is I'm like, oh, I can do it. I'll get her. And it's just, you realize how your time estimation of things kind of doesn't stack up. But
well, I will say this in advance. Once you all have your children there with you, and you know, we're trying to get back into another groove, I don't think many people are going to hold it against us too bad if we have to rearrange our schedule and get shows done when we can. I'm not saying we should go ahead and assume that's going to happen, but don't take it too hard if we have to do something like that.
Okie dokie. Yeah. I one day at a time.
Right.
Absolutely. So outside of baseball and I forget what the other culture war items were this past week, did anything interesting happen?
Yeah. Did you never replug?
I've replugged.
Okay, so you're asking me a rhetorical question.
Yeah, kind of kicking the ball to you in a fun, cool way.
Oh, fun, cool way. Okay, right. I got you.
I just spent a week with boomers. Give me a break.
Sure. I'll give you a break this time. Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot that happened. I had a total page of notes of things that had happened, and what I do is I'll kind of scour the internet, make a list of things that have happened over the course of the week, and then Sunday start going in them one by one, seeing if there's been any updates, see if I can pull clips. And I was on track to have a clip for every item that I had on my list, and then Israel bombed Qatar today.
Yeah, I did see that, actually. Is that
There's not really too much to say about it. I think we all know that nothing's going to happen to them. The Trump administration is basically saying this goes against what we're working toward here. But I don't think anyone is going to be really too upset that Israel targeted Hamas leadership in Qatar.
Well, can I play something that I believe might have been used to justify this action? You know how we
was it the school bus shooting? Yeah. Go ahead, because that happened, I think, a day and a half before the strike in Doha.
Yeah. So just before Israel, pretty much commits international war crimes, this happened in Israel.
You're watching the exact moment of the attack in Jerusalem. You can hear a few shots, then more, and the crowd start running and screaming. As police say, 2 Palestinian gunmen opened fire on people waiting at a bus stop. 6 Israelis were killed before the gunmen were shot dead by an Israeli soldier and an armed civilian.
This is the bus stop where the attack took place. The entire area has now been sealed off by Israeli soldiers and police. But if you look through here, right at the bus stop itself, you see the white body bags where medical workers are collecting the remains.
Prime Minister Netanyahu visited the scene and said the terror attack strengthened Israel's determination to carry out its war in Gaza to destroy Hamas and free Israeli hostages. And that Israeli airstrikes in Gaza City have already destroyed 50 high-rise buildings in 2 days,
50.
saying they issued evacuation orders for the buildings first and claiming they were used by Hamas.
Right.
Netanyahu told Palestinians to get out of the city now, but many remain, convinced that they'll be killed or made homeless or starve wherever they go. So why bother? 12-year-old Jana Mansour was living in a tent next to one of the high-rises. Today, she was looking for her clothing. She says she used to have beautiful dresses, but that now she feels like walking garbage. Nothing is left in life. We are finished, she says.
And here in Jerusalem tonight, 5 of the 10 people injured in the mass shooting remain in serious condition. Tom?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay...
Oh, boo. My bad.
Oh.
Oh.
Opa.
Yeah, so that happens, and then they bomb Gaza City. It's a pattern. Hey, we want to do something that's terrible. Let's first have something terrible happen to us, and then we can do that. All this talk of this, the Iron Dome, super secure city, October 7th happens, now terrorist attacks are happening. This has got to be something. This can't just be, maybe it is organic, but it really seems like these kind of things are used to justify the further push in an increasingly unpopular Israel worldwide.
I think it's organic. I think the environment is so degraded that you're inevitably going to have terrorist attacks on Israel for decades to come, and I think they're fine with that. I think they're going to use that, to your point, to forward their agenda and justify anything they want to do over the next, like I said, decade.
50 high-rise buildings now flattened. If it's not clear what they're doing in Gaza, which is turning it into a parking lot now, then it never will be.
Yeah, we've been told this.
I know. But, I was just with a bunch of conservative guys, but they're basically, all very, I wouldn't say very pro-Israel, but very Fox News talking point on Israel.
Right.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's almost one of those where you really have to be strategic about how you approach it, and if you approach it at all in some circumstances.
I didn't.
Because
I didn't. I was like, this is not.
Yeah.
It is not worth derailing this and having everybody angry at me for 20 minutes to get this point across.
Right. And it's not worth it at all, especially when you could bring up crime in America and motivate people with that instead of dividing people with Israel and Gaza and someplace halfway across the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I did bring up the whole National Guard thing and how St. Louis and Memphis were like the two prime cities for it, where they got a red state, red governor, and then blue-run cities. So,
yep.
If the National Guard thing's going to happen, it's going to happen here first.
Yeah, same with Jackson, as we discussed before.
That's one, too.
Now, speaking, I do have a clip about this strike on Qatar.
Okay.
And this happened today. This is in the Israel folder. And I think it's the only one I've got in there. Maybe in Mideast, either Mideast or Israel, one of the two.
It's in Israel. I got it.
Okay. CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Oh, breaking
All right,
news.
we do have breaking news. We are getting reports of explosions in Doha, the capital of Qatar, and beginning to see pictures coming back from that capital city. And we are getting word that this was part of a targeted Israeli attack. Let's get right to CNN's Jeremy Diamond in Jerusalem with the very latest. Jeremy, what have you learned?
John, this is an absolutely extraordinary moment that we are witnessing right now. A very large plume of smoke above the Qatari capital of Doha, and paired with that, an Israeli military statement saying that they have, quote, conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization, end quote. I have just gotten off the phone with an Israeli official who confirmed to me that that statement is indeed about that very same blast in Doha, meaning that the Israeli military, not even Israel's intelligence service, but its military, actually conducted a strike in Qatar targeting Hamas's leadership. And of course, the moment in time at which this is happening, amid this renewed push to negotiate a ceasefire and hostage release deal by the United States, President Trump putting a lot of political capital behind that. And now Israel seems to have targeted the very Hamas leadership that is in the midst of those negotiations. Doha, the Qatari capital, is where several senior Hamas leaders are currently based and have been based throughout much of this war in Gaza, namely Hamas's leader, Khalil al-Hayya. Khalil al-Hayya has been not only Hamas's leader in the wake of the killing of Yahya Sinwar, but he has also been the chief negotiator, engaged not only through the mediators, but also at times with U.S. officials in negotiations over the future of the war in Gaza, the future of the fate of the hostages being held inside the Gaza Strip throughout these nearly 2 years of war.
It's almost like Israel doesn't want peace, you know?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, just a lot more concisely said than I would have said it. So yes, thank you very much. We can move along. Anyone who tells you that Hamas is the problem in negotiations, you can just say, okay, what else do you want to talk about? Because we can't talk about this.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. Not surprised. Did you hear about the Israelis are now apparently droning flotillas?
Oh.
This
is a
funny story. It's a funny one.
It really is, because it's just a great example of how anything and everything can be used for your side's purposes. Everything and anything can be politicized or made to fit an agenda.
Yep.
You know, reports of drone attack on Greta Thunberg flotilla. Actually, it wasn't a drone attack. It was a misfired flare. These people will lie about anything.
Until the video comes out. Oops. I'll play the report, because this is one that was like, oh my God, the flotilla's been droned and somehow survived. I don't know.
Well, some breaking news just coming in from Tunisia. The organizers of Gaza-bound aid flotilla are claiming that one of its boats had been hit by a suspected drone.
The Global Summit Flotilla published some of the footage of the alleged drone strike as well.
Listen to this. Help! 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 Yeah,
the guy's screaming, "We've been hit!
We've been hit!" Reports came in that the Tunisian Coast Guard thought that the flotilla had run out of veggie burgers, and that was what the commotion was. Yeah.
Yes, we've been hit.
Yeah, so all the reports were, directly from the flotilla people being like, "Yeah, it was a drone." And then I think probably about an hour or two before the show, this video drops on Twitter of this guy launching a flare for whatever reason and lighting the flotilla on fire. So, cell phone.
Yeah.
Cell phone.
Yeah. I mean, how much? I have to imagine it would be very tense to undertake that mission of trying to float to Gaza and deliver your veggie burgers for the climate. But you really get an idea of just how tense everybody is when you have one guy on a boat who fires a flare, misfires, negligently discharges a flare, let's call it what it is, and then on the same boat, you've got another guy, I have to imagine, running in circles, screaming, We've been hit.
We've been hit. Yeah, it's like stubbing your toe and saying, damn Jews.
I've been hit.
I've been hit. I'm hit.
They got me.
I'm going to be feeling this for at least 20 minutes. That's funny.
That's great. That's fantastic. And I never dismissed out of hand the possibility that the IDF would sink this flotilla, just because they really don't care about anything, and they don't care what anyone says or how anyone condemns their actions, and that's pretty obvious. So there was always the possibility that they would sink this flotilla. But knowing that Israel hasn't, you really have to take a bit of a reality check and say, these people don't affect Israel in any way.
Well, in the fact that Israel would be firing rockets all the way to Tunisia that's insane. I mean, it's not that insane given the news that they just hit Doha today, but a random flotilla that's moving slow off the coast of Tunisia. I don't know. Nutty. But everyone ran with it. Everyone ran with it. We've been hit.
That's too funny. I hadn't heard the guy screaming, "We've been hit," until just now.
Yeah. There's more analysis, but it's from Weon, and as you heard, that one lady, that one lady, you're like, oh, I can very, very much understand her. The second lady, you're like, oh, that is rough in comparison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see here. Nepal is up in flames, quite literally.
Yes, it is. Over Facebook.
Yes, they got rid of MySpace.
That's right. Get your first post if you want to play it, or do you want to set it up at all?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, there's really not much to set up. We don't know too much about what has happened here other than we're being told it's young people who are upset, so much so that this protest, mostly peaceful, has been given the moniker the Gen Z protest. But I think you'll also hear in this report that there's an underlying dissatisfaction about corruption.
Yep. It's the hair or the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will.
Right.
Here we go.
Our next story is from Nepal, where a massive protest turned violent today. Thousands of protesters took to the streets across major cities. And what was the trigger? A sweeping ban on social media platforms in Nepal. In the capital city of Kathmandu, protesters marched to the parliament. They broke through a police cordon and chanted slogans against KP Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal. The state responded with a crackdown. They fired rubber bullets, tear gas and water cannons. At least 19 protesters have died. 19. The controversial ban was imposed last week. Nepal banned platforms like X, Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp. The government introduced new rules to regulate these platforms. They were required to register with the government.
Register.
The platforms refused to comply, so Nepal banned them. This angered the Gen Z population of the country. Many of them marched in protest today. They say this ban impacts their livelihoods and their future. It is not just about social media, it's about much more. Needless to say, this has had a political fallout. Just a short while back, Nepal's Home Minister resigned. He says he's taking moral responsibility for the death of protesters. Here's a report.
Yeah, I've got the report. I just stopped it between her saying, here's the report, and the actual report to give us a little bit of a reprieve. We don't want to make the clips too long and burden the audience with just listening for too long. I experienced this on the radio the other day, just as an aside. I tuned into, I was scanning radio stations. I like to listen to what's on the radio and see what people are doing and what they're saying, and either call or text into the radio stations with my dissident opinions, sometimes trolling, sometimes not. And I'm listening, and I stumble across a Jen Psaki clip. And little do I know that it's a clip. I just hear Jen Psaki on the radio. So I listen. Because, this is what I do sometimes is listen to people like Jen Psaki and get a good laugh and deconstruct why they're idiotic. And then the clip of Jen Psaki stops, and I hear a pregnant pause, and then I hear one guy say, well, let's analyze what she said. And I immediately changed the channel. And I think that's, I took it as a personal lesson in what we do. And I wanted to bring it up here to share that lesson. I don't think we should barely belabor the point that we're analyzing what's being said. I think we should focus on, and I think we do a good job of this. I just want to remind us that, we're here to have a good time, to convey information and shed some light on things, but more so than not, to have a good time. If that Jen Psaki clip had ended and someone had been having a good time at the end of it, I would have been rapt and probably listening until I got to my destination. But instead, we had a long pause and someone state the obvious of, well, now we're talking and we're going to analyze what was said in the clip. So just wanted to share that as an aside. Do you have any thoughts about this Nepalese stuff? Because the updates here are that the Capitol building, I believe, and I'm looking for confirmation of this, has been set on fire. Not just January 6th breached and had a podium stolen.
That's right.
Actually set on fire.
But yeah, I mean, I saw videos of, I think it was the finance minister being dragged out.
I have not been able to confirm that. That was from RT.
Okay.
Which is a data point in and of itself that RT is involved in this.
Well, it is an interesting scenario, and it rings sort of like what happened in Kazakhstan right before Russia invaded Ukraine. Remember the Kazakhstan had like a 24-hour freak out. The ATMs went offline.
Yes,
something about the oil
I do
prices.
remember that.
It kind of feels like this was brewing for a while, and then the Nepalese government shut off the internet, and it sparked it up. But it's in an interesting place because it's on India's northern border and China's southern border. Nepal is kind of the spacer between those two.
And Nepal and China have had increasingly good relations. That's why we discussed a little while back about how the Dalai Lama is in exile, and that is why.
Yeah, because of those relations. I think
Right.
Where is he located? I remember we figured it out last time.
I think he's in India.
That's right. Just over the border. Free Tibet. That's what they used to say. I don't think...
now they say, rebuild it.
Yeah. Rebuild Tibet.
Well, it's not Tibet, though. It's Nepal.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It's the region gives it some... It's like interesting because of the region that it's in, that it's going down. I think I'll be a little bit more cued into it and put my tinfoil hat on if like Bhutan or some of these other smaller countries start having similar rough times like that as well. Bangladesh, just these countries that are in the area near China, near India. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it makes me wonder who sponsored and who was the driving force behind the social media bill, because they had to know the social media companies weren't going to comply. And if they knew that, they had to, you would think they would project the response from the populace. But I guess that didn't happen.
I mean, they might have. Like, your government's seeking to ban us, I mean, I can't imagine any social media company is going to go, oh, no, we're going to lose our Nepal market. That's not probably a concern. Yeah. The pink salt prices are going to go through the roof.
Yeah, pink salt, not a particularly important component for servers.
Nope. But it is an important component for the coders that have one on their desk, claiming something about negative ions and whatnot. We actually have a few listeners, or at least people that are using VPNs that are going through the Bagmati province in Nepal. So, according to op3.dev.
Well, we need boots on the ground. I mean, if you have anything, if there's any particular reason you chose Nepal for your VPN, or maybe it's just circumstance, or you may actually be in Nepal if you can hear us, which I would hope you'd be able to. We need a note. We need some information from Nepal. We need to know what's actually going on here.
I'm saying low shot that the person that's coming through Nepal is actually Nepalese. But if who knows? If there's a case, if you are in Nepal, just let us know. Let us know how things are. Let us know if you killed any government officials. We'll keep you anonymous, of course.
Yes, use a single-use email. We don't care.
Yeah, anything. Any reach out. And I'm not talking to you, potty mouth. I don't want to get a broken English email and get all excited and then realize it's just potty mouth screwing with us, which is a thing you might do. But I appreciate it. What's this AI report? Is that
yes?
Related?
This is. I was very disappointed in First Post because you have Palki Shawarma, and we're big fans here. You know, I don't know if you know that, Palki, but we are, and we know why you went to First Post. You're getting paid, and we're happy for you. But you gotta tell First Post they gotta do something about this because it's unacceptable to follow up a Palki Shawarma introduction with this AI report.
The white people can't understand. Yes, we can. We like Palki. Keep Palki.
Vehicles set on fire. Broken windows and shattered glass. There are stones and debris everywhere.
Debris.
And the air is filled with clouds of tear gas. This is not a war zone. This is Nepal. Thousands of young people took to the streets across the country today. They chanted. They marched. They broke past police barricades. And they stormed the parliament gates. Security forces responded with tear gas and rubber bullets. By the end of the day, at least a dozen protesters were dead. Hospitals
from the tear gas and rubber bullets
have been overwhelmed by the injured. The trigger behind the protests was a ban. Last week, the government of KP Sharma Oli banned over 24 social media platforms. From X to Instagram, even Facebook, WhatsApp, and YouTube. The reason was non-compliance. These companies failed to register with the Nepali government. The requirement came after a Supreme Court order last year. Each platform was asked to appoint a local contact and name an officer to handle user complaints. They did not comply, so the government pulled the plug. Critics of the new registration law say this is not about compliance, it's about control. They are calling it a crackdown on dissent, one that's disguised as regulation.
30.15 million as of 2025. That's the population of Nepal. More people than I would have thought.
Yes, it's pretty populous for what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty much
everything in that everything in that part of the world is very populous.
Fair point.
There's one thing they got, it's people.
Do you know who has the world's largest population?
India surpassed China recently.
Yeah. I was going to say you get a 50-50 shot if you don't know. India. So I imagine population of Nepal is growing pretty solidly too. It's surprising because it's pretty much the Himalayan mountains. That is all of Nepal.
I mean, yeah, a lot of Nepal is mountainous, but I think it's bigger than you think, and also there's a lot of space when you start looking at mountains. A lot of places to live.
Well, we'll see how that unfolds. I imagine they'll get that quelled rather quickly. I saw
I don't know. I mean, you start talking about the government buildings being burned down.
People were saying the army stood down, and they're now with the protesters. Oh, bless you.
Oh, excuse me. I tried to mute myself, and I wasn't quick enough.
May the angels kiss you, and the devils miss you. I had a weird substitute teacher that always used to say that.
Yeah, that sounds like a weird substitute teacher thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I saw reports that the army has stood down. I saw there was like a communist headquarters that they were burning down, and they pulled down the communist flag and threw it into the pile.
Well, the thing about it right now is that it's absolute anarchy. So every little faction that ever wanted to carry out any kind of chaotic action is doing it. So you can't say, oh, the mob tore down the communist building flag, because one little group that decides they don't like communists going and tearing down the flag doesn't mean that's the sentiment of the whole group, the whole mob. So be cautious of seeing things like that and assigning those values to the mob.
I don't know if I assign any political leanings towards the mob whatsoever. It's just it was cool to see. I mean, I would be part of that group.
Yeah, and I think that you make a good point by saying you'd probably be a part of that group. I think this could very well point to the nihilistic bend of younger people.
Of just everything sucks. We don't have jobs. Everything's expensive. Yeah. Let's just
who cares what the cause is? Let's go do something fun.
It used to be it was a video game that took place in South America. It was called Just Cause. Just Cause,
yeah.
Yeah, but it was pretty much like Just Cause and Just Because, you know?
Yeah.
And that was basically the premise of the game. You could do whatever you wanted for whoever you wanted. Pretty fun, but I agree with you. I think we saw this. I saw it in St. Louis during the 2020 riots when, Black Lives Matter, but also if you throw a rock through the window of Best Buy, the TVs are free.
So, yes, just cause.
Just cause. That's right. Oh, very well.
I'm looking for confirmation that the finance minister has been drugged through the streets.
I just saw the video of it, and you know what? It's funny because all of my qualms of let's double check if that's true went out the window. It was just kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. We should do that here.
Well, Scott Bessent may actually put up a pretty good fight. I don't know if you want to do that.
You might like it.
Hey.
You showing me who's the boss, mister? Oh, boy. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see.
Well, just on an aside, did you hear about the spat in the Trump White House between Scott Bessent and the housing authority director?
I heard grumblings about it in the group chat, but no, I hadn't seen anything.
I'm gonna read a story for you. This is going to be, I don't want to read from CNN. It's probably poorly written. Okay, so we'll go to Politico and get something just as poorly written. Headline, quote, "I'm going to punch you in your effing face," end quote. Scott Bessent threatens an administration rival. The Treasury Secretary's quiet tensions with Housing Finance Chief Bill Pulte exploded at a...
You just got crispy.
Okay, I'll start over when I come back.
Gotcha. That happens, everybody. Every now and then we have technical difficulties. And by every now and then, I mean every single episode. But, it's free.
I'm back.
Hello. And you're reading, sir.
Quote, "I'm going to punch you in your effing face," end quote. Scott Bessent threatens an administration rival. The Treasury Secretary's quiet tensions with Housing Finance Chief Bill Pulte exploded at a private dinner last week.
Wow.
So Bill Pulte, this is interesting because Bill Pulte is the Federal Housing. Let me get the exact phrase for it.
Federal Housing Finance Agency.
Yes, FHFA is what I was looking for. Federal Housing Finance Agency. He's the director, and he has been the Trump official that has been digging up all of this mortgage fraud that we've been hearing about with certain political rivals who are now being pressed to resign from their roles because of this mortgage fraud. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago, there were rumblings about Lisa Cook, the Fed governor, the regional Fed governor.
Oh, yeah.
Who Trump wanted to step down. This is Bill Pulte. He's the guy going in and finding the mortgage fraud and publicizing it. And I just can't help but wonder if this has anything to do with Scott Bessent not liking him or, not liking him. I mean, I think it's fair to say he doesn't like him very much.
I think Ralph doesn't like him either.
And apparently Pulte was talking to the president about Scott Bessent. They were at a cocktail hour, and this is a quote from Bessent. Quote, "Why the F are you talking to the president about me? F you," Bessent told Pulte. "I'm going to punch you in your effing face."
That's fun, the drama that's going in there. Is there any inkling as to what Pulte might have said about Bessent to Trump?
I don't know, and that's what I've been trying to figure out, because I don't know too much about Pulte other than he's doing this bidding in the FHFA and really helping Trump get some of these rivals out of the administration or the Fed board, but I don't know what his aims are. I know that he comes from a construction company family, and he says that the construction company was almost bankrupt in 2008. So maybe there's some, maybe he holds some resentment for Bessent when Bessent was involved in the finance industry at that time and Bessent's role in 2008. I don't know. I haven't dug that far into it to really know. But yeah, we've talked about the split between Musk and Bannon, and it's a little more high profile, but I think this one may be more interesting.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I actually have some clips from CNBC about these mortgage fraud cases from just a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And this first one is mortgage fraud, ProPublica reporting, CNBC.
President Trump putting some more pressure on Fed Governor Lisa Cook to resign over potential problems with multiple mortgages. Now it appears some of the highest members of the Trump administration may be in the same boat. And we're joined right now by Eamon Javers, who joins us with that story. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. ProPublica taking a look at the mortgage records of key Trump administration officials, given President Trump's allegations against Fed board member Lisa Cook. And the publication found that at least 3 of Trump's cabinet members call multiple homes their primary residences on mortgages. Now, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer entered into 2 primary residence mortgages in quick succession, including for a second home near a country club in Arizona. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has primary residence mortgages in New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Lee Zeldin, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator, has 1 primary residence mortgage in Long Island and another in Washington, D.C. That's according to ProPublica, which is citing loan records. Now, all 3 cabinet members denied wrongdoing to ProPublica, and in a statement, a White House spokesperson said, "This is just another hit piece from a left-wing dark money group that constantly attempts to smear President Trump's incredible cabinet members. Unlike Fed Governor Lisa Corrupt Cook, who blatantly and intentionally committed mortgage fraud, Secretary DeRemer, Secretary Duffy, and Administrator
These guys just did it accidentally.
Own multiple residences, and they have followed the law, and they are fully compliant with all ethical obligations." And in a statement to CNBC, a Department of Transportation spokesperson said, after being confirmed as the Secretary of Transportation, Sean purchased a home in Washington, D.C., where he works full-time. The home in D.C. is not a rental, investment, or vacation property. The same bank holds both mortgages and was fully informed of Secretary Duffy's new employment location and need for a D.C. residence.
It's interesting that it's about mortgages and the guy was a home builder,
Yeah.
Makes you think that there's something there with Besant and this guy. Maybe Besant has 2 primary residences, but it's, these are easy things. If you have a semi-decent accountant, he can get around. Why don't you put that property in your wife's name? Why don't you put that property in your, your child's name? That's their primary residence. There's many ways to do it, but the effect is you get a better rate if it's your primary residence versus a secondary residence.
Right.
So that's where the fraud comes in.
Yes, and this is going to be covered at length in these next clips. The next one in line being rules.
Perfect.
So just so I understand, and maybe you can explain the rules to us, when is it okay to have multiple mortgages listed as a primary residence, and when is it not?
Well, that's the question. And the question is whether it's intentional and whether it's fraudulent against the bank that gave the mortgage to the person under the assumption that that person would be living there as a primary residence. From the bank's perspective, a rental property is more risky than a primary property because renters do more damage. It might not be looked after as well if the owner's not actually living there. So banks want to know which one is your primary residence and which one is not, and which one is a rental. So in each case, there's going to be nuance there. In the case of one bank holding 2 mortgages where they're both listed as primary, the bank clearly knows this person owns 2 houses and what the situation is. Is that fraud? Probably not. But I think if you're a politician or any kind of powerful figure in Washington today, you should just assume that somebody is going through all your mortgage records looking for any hint of inconsistency.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or, a news agency hired somebody to listen to every single minute of your podcast to highlight any kind of word choice that might be problematic.
Right. Okay, so let's hear about some of the exceptions, of course.
Okay, just looking some of this up. I looked this up last week or the week before, and just to go back over it, there are some exceptions where you can have multiple mortgages. I think primary is that the bank knows about it and the bank signs off about it. But if relocation, if you're moving to a new city for a job and you're buying a new home before selling your old one, your lender may allow it. If you're buying for a dependent, particularly if it's an aging parent or a disabled adult child,
Ding,
you
ding.
can do that.
There's the loophole.
If you're co-signing for a primary residence mortgage to help a friend or family member purchase their own home while you also have a mortgage on your primary residence, or if you're an active duty service member of the military, you can have some of these. But I think the primary issue is going to be, did the bank know about it? Do the banks know about some of these issues? But it is going to get...
Right.
I think you're right, Eamon, to say that this is going to be the new witch hunt, for lack of a better term. They're going to be looking at everybody. A lot of people in D.C. do have multiple homes because they live back in their district with their family, live in the district. If they don't have a rental, if they own a property there, this is going to get interesting. I think this is going to be something that is on everybody's radar screen.
Yeah, I mean, I would just imagine that everybody who's campaigning next year should look at their mortgage documents and make sure they're squared away. The question here is whether someone, the question here is whether someone achieves some kind of improper benefit by lying intentionally on their mortgage forms, right? Did you get a discount on your mortgage that you didn't deserve because, lower interest rate, because you said this affirmatively and it's not true? Right. So that's the question. And there's a lot of, as you say, Becky, there's a lot of officials in D.C. who are coming in from home districts, administration officials who just come in for a year or two. And so they've got a new residence here and they're switching homes. All of that. So,
Eamon, can we just.
No, we cannot. No, we cannot.
No, we cannot. But this next clip is going to be, and I'm sorry about the drudgery of those two, but this next clip is going to be the Lisa Cook clip, which I sort of felt the same way you did earlier of the Trump administration is just being hypocritical, and now they're being hit with the same sword they unsheathed. But let's hear CNBC talk about the differences between Lisa Cook's and the others.
Can we just call a spade then for a second? Because
that's racist.
At least from the outside.
No, this is Washington.
No, at least from the outside, and maybe this is unfair to say, when you look at the Lisa Cook documentation, it raises a lot more questions, in truth, to me at least, than the 3 examples that were just put up in the past 24 hours, which, of course, are now being used by Democrats to try to suggest that this is some kind of government weaponization, which, by the way, I think we can all agree could still be a government weaponization, if you will, at the same time that she could have done something improper and possibly even illegal. And so the question is how we're supposed to look at this. And the reason I'm mentioning this is I don't want the viewer to look at these 3 examples and go, well, everybody's doing it, when maybe they're not doing it. And when you look at her situation, I think there are at least reasonable questions to ask. And by the way, no answers have been provided thus far.
The difference, I think, in her situation is she was renting out at least one of those properties and saying that it was her primary residence. I mean, that's
big
a
no-no.
huge distinction.
Well, it was that and that they were done within weeks of each other. So you had to know what your primary residence was.
The banks knew that was a separate issue, but you can't, for tax purposes, let alone for mortgage issues, for tax purposes, you can't claim 2 homes as a primary residence either.
Right.
Yeah, facially, Andrew, the Cook case. Yeah, facially, the Cook case seems to have a lot more smoke to it than these other cases do. But that doesn't mean that Oppo researchers in Washington don't have some mortgage records to look at for hundreds of people today.
So she listed it as her primary residence to get a discount on the required equity and a better rate, and then rented it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is
within weeks of getting her.
That's straight up fraud. So this is one of the cases where it's like rich people can get away with stuff. And, with banking, it's all about risk and risk assessment. So it's really not a big deal to a bank if you list something as a primary residence, if you're going to live there, because they know you can probably pay for it. Even if it is your secondary residence, they'll give you a better rate just because they know you're a lower risk to them in a lot of times. So this is, but renting it out and saying it's your primary residence, yeah, that is Better Call Saul fraud.
You don't need a criminal lawyer. You need a criminal lawyer.
It's funny. I just thought of that line today, too, because I don't know why, but it popped in, and I was like, that's funny. I'm not a businessman.
Yeah, so to tie this back into the original story, the story that everyone's hearing right now, this guy who's finding all of this, especially the Lisa Cook stuff and the stuff on people who are opposed to Trump, he's the one that Bessent is upset with.
The Pulte fella.
Yes.
Yep. This is the final clip.
Well, no, it's a completely different topic, but we can cover it if you want.
Oh, no. I thought you were setting me up for the final clip. I got it here.
No. I just wanted to tie it back into the headline everyone is seeing about, I'll punch you in your face.
Yep.
And then kiss you.
Kiss you on the lips. Perfect. I don't know if I have any America clips tonight.
Well, you don't have to do America now.
I know. Do you want to just talk about this other one that's in the Trump folder?
No, actually, I want to go to South America.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Bolsonaro trial that's coming up, and I've got clips from France 24. This is France 24 Bolsonaro trial to get us started.
Brazil's Supreme Court is hearing the closing arguments in the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro. He's facing charges of plotting a coup for attempting to remain in power after he lost the election in 2022. While Bolsonaro has been barred from running for public office until 2030, a guilty verdict on the coup charge alone carries a sentence of up to 12 years. Let's take a listen to what the judge had to say earlier.
It is regrettable that another coup has been attempted in Brazil's Republican history, attacking institutions and democracy itself, with the aim of establishing a state of emergency, a true dictatorship.
A state of emergency. Isn't that what they got the South Korea guy for?
Yeah.
Martial law.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yes. So our next clip here is going to be the public reaction. And I'm setting up a larger discussion here. So we're going to go through these in pretty quick order. But I've got a larger topic I want to get to. This is the public reaction to Bolsonaro's trial.
And joining me now is Jan Ionesco from Rio de Janeiro. Jan, what exactly has been the public reaction to the trial?
Geez.
Well, the words being used to describe this trial here are historic and unprecedented. This is the first time that a former president of Brazil is standing trial, allegedly for attempting to stage a coup d'etat. And not only is Bolsonaro on trial, but also 7 other defendants, including 3 army generals and the former head of the Navy. They're all accused alongside him of trying to overthrow democracy when Bolsonaro lost the 2022 election to President Lula. Now, with such high-level political and military leaders on trial for the first time, it's not surprising that this has generated a lot of interest. The courtroom is packed out. The trial is being broadcast on TV.
The allegations, the public reaction, the public outcry. It's everywhere.
Yes, and we're setting a scene here. Bolsonaro is very popular.
Yeah, he's Brazil's Trump. I believe that's exactly what they called them when he was elected.
That's what they called him. Yep. So let's hear the allegations against him.
Prosecutors allege that Bolsonaro was the leader of a criminal organization that, even before the 2022 election, tried to undermine the legitimacy of Brazil's voting system, attacked its democratic institutions, and all this was intended to be used as a justification for Bolsonaro remaining in power should he lose the election. Also being investigated is an alleged plot to kill President Lula, his vice president, and the Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who is overseeing this particular trial. It all culminated in the riots on January the 8th, 2023, when Bolsonaro's supporters invaded the Congress and the presidential palace. They've been camping out for weeks outside army headquarters, demanding military intervention, as they called it. But Bolsonaro says that he was not involved in any plot to stage a coup, and he points out that there was a peaceful transfer of power in 2023. For the prosecution, though, the fact that the accused drafted documents and also met to discuss the coup is evidence that the plans were underway and that they wanted to stage this coup.
All righty, let's continue with possible consequences. A little more analysis here.
What are the possible consequences that could result from this hearing?
Well, as you say, Bolsonaro could be facing up to 12 years in prison on just one of the charges of trying to overthrow democracy. But in fact, he's facing 5 charges altogether. And if he's found guilty on all of them, he could be facing 43 years in prison. Now, most experts believe that there is so much evidence against him that he's likely to be found guilty on some, if not all, of the charges. In fact, both Lula's government and Bolsonaro's allies are already preparing for how they will react to a guilty verdict. Lula's government is trying to anticipate whether the US President Donald Trump will impose further sanctions on Brazil if Bolsonaro is jailed. Trump last month slapped 50% tariffs on Brazil for what he describes as a political witch hunt against Bolsonaro, who is a friend of his. And the US's intervention was largely seen as being the result of lobbying by Bolsonaro's politician son, Eduardo, who now lives in Washington and is close to the US government. In fact, he and Bolsonaro, his father, Jair Bolsonaro, are both being investigated now for potential obstruction of justice in this trial by calling on the US to intervene. And in fact, Bolsonaro supporters are slightly worried whether more sanctions will be imposed, because this could actually end up supporting or improving Lula's approval ratings.
That was important.
Yeah.
Yes, that was important, because what we're going to talk about after this wrap clip is how this plays in with our discussion about Venezuela 2 weeks ago and our mentioning that Brazil is going to play a role in anything that happens here. Wrap.
Meanwhile, other allies of Bolsonaro, such as Tarcísio de Freitas, the governor of Sao Paulo at the moment, the person who's seen as being the most likely candidate for the far right in next year's elections, he's already said that if he wins this next year's presidential elections, the first thing he will do is to pardon Bolsonaro. we're still a long way from that at the moment. The trial is only just resuming today. The prosecution is setting out its case, and we're not expected to have a result in this trial until the end of next week.
Little Operation Paperclip going on here.
I don't know if I would make that analogy. I don't know if there's anyone that smart involved. But what we have here is an ex-president's son lobbying the U.S. to have some interdiction on behalf of his father. Bolsonaro's allies in Brazil thinking that that interdiction might actually spur support for Lula, the current president, because it's an external intervention. And at the same time, we have the U.S. blowing fishermen, drug runners, whatever you want to call them. There's this big debate over whether we should be blowing up boats out of the water in the Caribbean. We're blowing up boats coming out of Venezuela. We're moving military assets, really, really powerful military assets, F-35s, to Puerto Rico to be within quick striking distance of Venezuela. I haven't seen any bombers yet, but I don't think we would need bombers with destroyers in the Caribbean. But we're seeing all of this military hardware being positioned around Venezuela. And the last thing we need is for Brazil to make a scene if we handle our business in Venezuela. So, what do? We sacrifice Jair Bolsonaro. We say, Lula, look, you know that Maduro's a problem. No one can handle him. Who cares what comes next? Maduro's a problem. We all know it. We're going to take care of the problem, and you don't say a word, and you can do whatever you want with Jair Bolsonaro. We won't intervene.
Well, Marcos turning into George W. Bush overnight, man.
He doesn't have to turn into it. That's what he is at his core.
Yeah. He's definitely part of that era, the neocon hard era. I mean, that's a compelling point. That is a compelling point with Brazil. You know, Brazil being obviously the B in BRICS. So you think they're going to sacrifice Bolsonaro so they can do what they want to do in Venezuela, get Maduro out, maybe have him run through the streets of Venezuela and knock down his statues.
Well, and the other thing is that if Marco's been charged with securing the Western Hemisphere, then you sacrifice Bolsonaro to gain some goodwill with Lula, and then you get rid of Maduro, and you promise Lula a cut of the oil, the Venezuelan oil riches, to put a wedge between him and the BRICS nations.
I mean, what do we get from South America outside of Colombian coffee?
Cattle, beef. We talked about beef prices on the last show we had, and that's because of the stopping of the flow of imported beef into America. There are a lot of really easily refinable oil comes from Venezuela. Sweet crude.
Was it who was before Maduro in Venezuela? I can almost think of his name.
I'm not sure.
Hugo Chavez. It was Hugo Chavez.
Oh, Oh, it was. Wow.
Yeah. Because I remember reading something about how they didn't really invest in the refining facilities in Venezuela, and that's one of the reasons why the infrastructure eventually went and the economy of Venezuela went down the tanks. So that is interesting because now we have the oil production still. They're able to pull it out of the ground, but they're not able to refine it. We have a little change. Maduro goes into the ground 6 feet under. We get whatever Harvard-educated Venezuelan we can find, run him for president.
Do you think it'll still be Juan Guaido, the South American Barack Obama? Do you remember that guy?
Juan Guaido. Maybe. Guaido or Guaido? Guaido. Well, Google knew what I meant. Q or G? Oh, this guy. Where'd he go to school? Early life and education.
And he went to school
George
at the
Washington
same cloning,
University.
Yeah, he came out of the same cloning facility as Barack Obama.
Yeah, that's our guy. That's him. Venezuela's
Yes,
Barack Obama.
Bill, we're going to need the Barack vial, but we want you to put a little bit of Derek Jeter in there. All right, you got it, boss.
That's something. It is a good play, I think. I think that's probably it too. Is one of the reasons why we're so gung ho on Venezuela is another cheap source of oil.
Well, and at this point in history, the world is becoming increasingly smaller because of military hardware and intelligence and information flows. And it's basically, it might as well just be a geopolitical security play. If you're going to stop the cartels and you really, I mean, do you actually buy that Maduro is one of the major heads of the cartel snake?
I'm sure he gets kickbacks from not doing anything about it, but I don't think he's the head, you know.
Well, the line that you'll get from a lot of people in the administration or supporting the administration is that Maduro is actually a drug kingpin. Not just someone who turns the other way or gets kickbacks, but an actual drug lord.
I mean, we were just talking about this in Israel. You got to justify it. Oh, we're bombing these buildings in Gaza City because of this terrorist attack that occurred. That's why we're knocking down these high-rises.
My point, I just wanted to know how you felt about it, but my point is that if this is a good faith effort to stop the drug trade, then we could be going after Venezuela because of that. But then how many, it's the kind of thing where, you take out the one gang and then the fledgling gang just rises up and learns from your mistakes and they're the next gang you got to deal with. So, I mean, aside from having permanent anti-guerrilla forces in South American jungles, how are we going to really achieve this stoppage of the drug trade?
Yeah, you got to cut off the head of the snake is what they're trying to sell you. But I mean, if you do have a change of power and you put your guy in there, that's the best way to do it. Then they'll do whatever. I mean, the cartels are who elected Sheinbaum in Mexico. They're pretty much like, you can say whatever crazy left-wing BS you want, just don't mess with our drug game. And it was pretty much understood that she was just like the previous president of Mexico that turns a blind eye to any cartel activity. So, despite, suing Adidas for cultural appropriation or whatever.
Oh,
the drugs will flow in the ton of drugs triangle.
Ton of drugs triangle, yes. I mean, that was perfect. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because we harped on this 2 weeks ago. And what do you know? While we're out on the extended break, we get the U.S. military missile striking a speedboat in the Caribbean Sea because it's got a ton of drugs on it.
It's like we're the new, what is it? What is that nation called? Yeah, we're the new Somali pirates. It's like reverse Somali pirates. where instead of attacking large vessels, it's large vessels attacking small ships.
Yeah, but it is almost a counter piracy operation, though the pirates of today aren't pillaging trade routes, they're selling illicit goods into your nation, harmful illicit goods.
I can see this being the sequel to Cocaine Bear, like a movie, Cocaine Shark. Dude, this is the whole plot.
They already
of it.
have that.
The Cocaine Shark, though, is there's a Cocaine Shark. There's a Sharknado.
No, there's Cocaine Shark.
That's a movie?
Yes, 2023.
No.
Yes.
I'll be damned. They really are out of ideas in Hollywood.
3 actors listed in the cast. Cast members' names are victim, security guard, doctor.
Oh yeah, it's a Japanese title apparently, but it is literally the same font and everything as Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder which came first, the Cocaine Bear or the Cocaine Shark?
Bear.
Oh. What do you know? I'll be damned. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing to say about Cocaine Shark. Yes. I mean, we've said since the early days of this Trump administration that Marco Rubio is dead set on U.S. domination of the Western Hemisphere. And that is his charge. He's been charged with dominating the Western Hemisphere and given any tools that he wants, and he's more than dripping wet to use them. Now, I can't really understand Rand Paul saying we shouldn't have blown this boat out of the water in the Caribbean Sea. How dare we? I don't really think that's a winning argument in the current environment. And maybe Rand Paul doesn't care what's a winning argument. Maybe he's just as principled as I once thought he was.
That boat had a right to a fair trial.
Yes, and each of its motors, too.
That's right. I mean, I don't know. It is definitely a way to stop it, you know?
Yes. And that's the thing. You know, the reality is that even if that boat didn't have drugs on it, that next boat at dock that did have drugs on it said, well, I'm not feeling so great today, boss.
That's right. That's true. I mean, yeah, they're blowing people up out here. It's like those videos out of Washington, D.C. where the people are like, oh my God, they're really doing this.
Yeah, they're really doing this.
That wasn't a bluff.
Well, do you think they're going to go to Charlotte?
Charlotte? Oh, maybe.
Wasn't it Charlotte, the newest one?
Yeah, that was the Ukrainian woman who got knifed in the throat by the black guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the video. It's not something. I mean, it is something that people should see. I think personally, I think people should see it and realize that that's bad. Like that's the stuff that happens. But I think
that's why you have to get your head out of your phone and be cognizant of your surroundings, because that's reality.
Yep. Knife to the throat. It's a terrible video to watch. But it is what happens daily. Yeah, I was talking to my dad. We're in Minnesota, and he was talking about these reports of shootings happening in my small town of Sheboygan, where I grew up in. Like nothing happens in Sheboygan. But you know, compared to St. Louis, it's like a big whoop. But you know, it's happening everywhere now. This crime is literally happening everywhere. So you gotta be prepared. And yeah, I always go heavy. If I go at all, I go heavy. even the airport, but that gets you in trouble.
4 minutes ago, Trump says he plans to announce a troop deployment for another U.S. city as soon as tomorrow.
Oh, boy. I wonder if it's St. Louis. That'll be fun. I'll go down there with my microphone and iPhone camera and everything. We'll do a little man on the street thing.
I hope it's Charlotte. If Donald Trump or any of his advisors had any sense at all for the sentiment that he could whip up using this Charlotte light rail attack, he would do a presidential address to the nation tonight, prime time, and show the entire video and say, effective immediately, I'm ordering National Guard to occupy Charlotte, North Carolina. The Democrat-run cities have gone too far. I mean, it's easy. It seems so easy to me. If you're going to do this, you don't just... You know, Rahm Emanuel is the one who said, never let a good crisis go to waste. For the people on social media who do represent the sentiments of the larger American people to an extent, you have to be very cautious about how you assign those sentiments and what's astroturfed and what's not. The video of this lady being stabbed on the light rail has actually garnered legitimate outrage, not astroturfed outrage. People are actually very upset by this. And if Trump wanted to, he could go full political and use this to his advantage and actually get something done in regards to crime in American cities.
I think...
would it be constitutional? No, it wouldn't be constitutional. Could he have something done before the court stopped him? Absolutely.
I think Bully Steed nailed it. Trump's George Floyd moment. He could absolutely do that.
It could be. It really could be.
Yeah. That's something. That is something. It might be Charlotte. Based on the timing of it and the announcement that as early as tomorrow they're going to announce it, it could be. North Carolina is a red state, I believe, mostly.
There are a lot of blue cities in it if it's red. If it's still red, I think it might be purple.
Let me see the 2024 election map. I think North and South both went red. Yep, full red on the coast. There's no way this is the right map. No way.
It's a purple state.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes in and out. Which is the definition of a purple state.
Yeah. Believe me, I've got practice with my colors these days.
All right now. All right.
My ABCs, my 1, 2, 3s.
Can you fit the circle block through the square hole?
Everything goes through.
Yeah, North Carolina.
The square hole.
North Carolina went red in 2024. Everything except for Virginia. That whole coast is red. Awesome. Okay.
I don't know. If he doesn't do an address tonight where he shows the nation this video, then I don't think it's going to be Charlotte. I think it'll be Chicago. They've been laying the groundwork for Chicago. And I don't really expect it to go well.
The Chicago happening?
Yeah.
I don't see how they can do it. Was that discussed at all this week I was gone?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just threats from Trump and then shots back from Pritzker and whoever the mayor of Chicago is.
Brandon Johnson or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BJ politician.
BJ. Perfect. You think I got a lot of Europe in the second half. You think we should thank some people?
Why not?
All right, let's do that.
Millennial Media
Offensive.
That's right. You are rolling along on the Offensive Live every Tuesday night, except for last Tuesday, here on the internet at 5:30 p.m. Central. You go to stream.mmo.show, and you can hear the show, usually, unless we have some sort of technical issue. Might drift a little later, or it might be a little earlier. But we're always here on a Tuesday, and it's just basically a conversation between John and I and the chat room. I like to think of it as two guys at a bar talking about current events and coming prepared with clips. We don't actually have any advertisers. I talked about this a lot this past week. People are like, oh, you've monetized it. You know, who are your advertisers? I go, ha, advertisers. That's for Ben Shapiro and his dumb watches. We don't have advertisers here. Instead, we have producers and listeners and people that just support the show. We put it out there for free, and we ask if you get any value, return that value back to us. And there's many ways to do that. You can send clips. You can send songs like Potty Mouth's been doing. Or you can send fiat donations, and that can come the way of going to PayPal or Cash App or Venmo. Those people go to mmo.show/donate and find out about that. We also accept boosts, which are just little bits of Bitcoin sent through Podcasting 2.0 compliant apps. You can go to mmo.show and learn more about that as well. That being said, we do have some people to thank, and we always start off by thanking the artist from last week. And it's funny, usually I don't remember the art from last week, but the art from our last episode was easily remembered as it was done by Wolf, and it features the triangle, which I think we probably spent 10 to 15 minutes trying to come up with a name for.
Trying to name it.
Yeah. And he blew out any sort of name that we had. He instantly
blew
made
it out of the
better.
water.
That's right. That's right. He called it the Tons of Drugs Triangle. And I think, almost right at that furthest west point of the triangle, that's where they blew the maybe or maybe not drug runners out. Could have just been a group of guys out for an evening cruise trying to catch some fish. Hey, this large boat's coming rather close to us. Maybe they need some assistance. Bam. But it was well done. I like everything about this. The title font is interesting. But the Tons of Drugs Triangle, it's just perfect. It gets the point across, and you understand it when you see it. You don't have to, delve into some deeper meaning. It works well. Do you concur?
I concur.
Perfect. All right. We don't have any art for this evening. I think there was a suggestion for vegan burgers for Palestine in the chat room, which I think is kind of funny. But if anything else sparks your interest, feel free to make it and send it to Dan at MMO.show and John at MMO.show. Operators are standing by to receive it firsthand. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Up next, we have a couple of people that came in by way of fiat currency. And I'll read them now in order of highest amount. Starting off the top of the list is Colin Schultz, and he comes in through PayPal with $33.33, and his note was El Trianglo. And then he had a longer note. He goes, I feel like you guys overlooked the very obvious name of Trafficking Triangle to describe Mexico, Cuba, and Venezuela. Because whether it's drugs, guns, or people, that's what they do. By the way, with the stranglehold the pharmaceutical companies have on our own country, have the hold over our own country, over the media, politicians, and regulatory agencies, license boards, research, and so on, the United States is functionally a narco-state as well. This is just one that we decided to legalize. P.S. This donation amount, with this donation amount, I am in fact not a Fed. Don't forget to defedify and stay on the offensive.
On the offensive.
You are not a Fed. Colin Schultz, of course, of the Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth podcast, hosted by Colin Schultz. Pretty good. Brings you through the book of the Bible. Thank you, Colin. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Up next, a man I thought we had lost, but we got him back, luckily. Eli, the coffee guy, comes in through PayPal with $33.33, and he says, missed y'all last week. Hope bear hunting went well. Use coffee, garlic, and thyme to season your bear meat. Well, Eli, I wish I had some bear meat to season. We might get that ironed out in the next couple of weeks. Visit GigawattCoffeeRoasters.com for great coffee. Stay caffeinated and stay OTO. Eli.
On the offensive.
Thank you, sir. Gigawatt Coffee is the coffee that fuels me daily, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Sharky Shark comes in through PayPal, our day one fish, and he comes in with $20.01, and it's his monthly reoccurring donation. Thank you, sir. And I hope warm waters are ahead in your swim. Sir Leafheart comes in through Cash App with $20, and he says, true statement, every time I donate, my dong doubles in size. Well, that's something. We got Sir Leafheart is a.k.a. Pinocchio Pecker, so much appreciated. Thank you very much, Sir Leafheart. Another Sir Lee Mofo, comes in through PayPal with $20, and he says, welcome back. Missed y'all, fellows. Stay offensive, Sir Lee Mofo. Offensive, we shall stay. Wait for the end-of-show mix that came in from Potty Mouth. You will not be disappointed. Plaid Potion came in through PayPal with $19.84, the 1984 donation, and he says, OTO and OTT. On the twins, I think, is what my mother-in-law said. Something about that, or I can't remember. She, deciphered it, and I was like, oh, that's definitely it. But thank you very much, Plaid Potion.
On the offensive.
And on the twins. Thank you. New name on the list, Rocket Boy, came in through PayPal with $12.21, and he says, have a great week, Rocket Boy. Thank you, sir. Have a great week as well. Emily the Fed came in through PayPal with her monthly reoccurring donation of $11, and that's reoccurring. And because she is a Fed, I need to point out that she's actually not a Fed.
You are not a Fed.
And we'll defedify her.
You are not
a Fed. Thank you, Emily. Chucky Chuckles comes in through PayPal with $10.40, and he says, Tuesday is News Day, and I concur.
Tuesday is News Day.
Thank you very much, and we will
see you next Tuesday.
Ethan C. comes in through PayPal with $10, and it's his monthly reoccurring. Thank you very much, sir. Nlog, the Nail Lord of Gaylord, man who needs no introduction, but I will anyways, came in through Venmo for $5, and he says, Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
John reading that book reminded me of the voices my dad used when he would read to me Briar Rabbit and the Tar Baby. Well, happy reading, I suppose. Thank you, Nail Lord. And finally, Weirdo came in through Cash App with $3.33, and he says, OTO, to which I say,
on the offensive.
Thank you, everybody. That does it for everyone that donated. Big, long list. Always happy to come back to that after a break. So thank you very, very much. I believe we've got some boosts to read, John, but I'm just now realizing that because we were out for a week,
they got cleared.
So if you want to read the ones you have, and then I will I'll figure out how to get the other ones while you read them.
Well, I've got 3.
Sounds about right.
And we've got 1,111 Satoshis from Bully Steed, who says remain on the offensive, #OTO. Thank you, Bully Steed. Weirdo comes in with 1,000 Satoshis and says, I smell horse goo. It's sweet like the smell of spring rain. Reminds me of home. Salute, OTO.
On the offensive.
And then Mr. Ed comes in with 666 Satoshis and says OTO, but not the Aleister Crowley kind of OTO, just MMO kind of OTO.
On the offensive.
Thank you. Yeah, 666 is OTO on a T9 keyboard. So like when in the old texting days. So that's the T9 is OTO, and yes, Aleister Crowley has OTO, which is some occult of the something. I came across it when looking at OTO one day. It just happens to line up with the devil. And there's a devil emoji in Mr. Red's name. So much appreciated. Gracias, senor.
Seems like the devil would have more money to give.
That's right. Nonetheless, we're thankful you thought of us, Mr.
Yes,
Senor
I
Red.
did.
Thank you very much. Senor Rojo. On top of that, we had 333 Satoshis from Sir Jared of South Burien, and he is actually the creator of our Baghdadi booster jingle, which will play when I hit him. Thank you very much, Sir Jared. 121 Satoshis came in from Pies, and he says, thank you, gentlemen. And we say, de nada, senor. 5,000 Satoshis came in through CoinCat. And,
look out.
Yep. And she said, enjoy your week off.
Baghdadi.
Baghdadi.
And I'm pretty sure that does it for all of our boosters. And thank you, CoinCat, for the Baghdadi boost.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who sent us any kind of support, whether it be monetary, informational, artistic, in any way that it could be artistic. We really appreciate it. It's what keeps us going. It's what brought us back after the week off. And, you know, we wouldn't do this if people didn't support. We consider it feedback from the audience. And as long as we're receiving valuable feedback, we're going to keep sending you value week after week with only occasional R&R interruptions. So we will be back next Tuesday. We have the second half of show to do here. But every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're on multiple channels, multiple podcast players. And if you want to find us, you can find us. Not least of all, you can find us by going to MMO.show. We're on YouTube for the time being. We're on Twitch. We are on X at Real MMO Show, and pretty much any podcast player out there. We're somewhere on it. You got to know how to spell millennial, but we're there.
Yeah, it's a tough marketing move on our behalf, but there's a guy this weekend, so you're even on Spotify? And I said, yes. And he's like, wow, congrats. That guy didn't know how podcasting works. But I'm happy he's found the show.
Get it on.
All right, let's go to Europe, shall we? Do you know which two countries have the largest economies in Europe?
Germany and Germany.
Germany and submarines.
France.
There you go. Germany and France have the two largest economies in Europe, but, and this is kind of interesting, but both of them are in a little bit of political turmoil right now. And so this is going to be a two-segment. We'll start off with this report out of France, which talks about the French Prime Minister loses on a no-confidence vote, brought to you by the DW. And it's that well-spoken black guy with the glasses, who I love his voice so much. It's great.
Yes.
Here we go.
We begin with breaking news from France, where in the last minute, the minority government has collapsed after the Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou, lost a confidence vote in Parliament. The result was expected as he sought to plug a black hole worth tens of billions of euros in France's budget. Mr. Bayrou is now forced to step down after just 9 months in office. Straight to our correspondent, Lisa Louis, who joins us from the French National Assembly. Welcome, Lisa. So he's gone.
Absolutely. It's official now. 364 parliamentarians voted against Francois Bayrou and only 194 in favour of him. A very clear result, that is. And that means that Francois Bayrou will have to quit his job. He's understood to, hand in his resignation tomorrow during the day. And after that, French President Emmanuel Macron will have to find a new prime minister.
Is that going to be easy?
It's going to be really difficult, Emmanuel Macron will have to walk a very fine line. As we know, after the snap parliamentary elections last year, none of the political groups has a clear majority in Parliament. There are 3 blocs. For now, we had prime ministers from the central bloc, the centrist bloc, the government's coalition, President Macron's party, and he's likely to go along the same route again. However, it's going to be even more complicated because he will have to find a prime minister either, from centre-left party, the Socialist Party, that will be supported by the Republicans. They've said they don't want that. On the other hand, the Socialists don't want centre-Republican, a centre-right prime minister. But in the end, at the end of the day, they all have to come together and agree on something for that budget. France is in dire straits. Actually, François Bayrou wanted to bring down, the deficit and wanted to save 44 billion euros next year, and that plan really brought him down instead.
It's interesting that Europe now all of a sudden has all these weird budget issues going on. We'll hear more about Germany's budget issues in a minute. But it's almost like something changed, as far as, them being required to pay into NATO and tariffs on their goods and trade agreements and whatnot. So now they're in trouble. Those Europeans are going to need to figure out how to do business real quick. But how did France get here? And that's what DW seeks to answer with this next clip.
Price needs to take his time. He's had enough practice at picking them. Remind us how France got to this point, Lisa.
Well, actually, it all started last year with snap parliamentary elections that Emmanuel Macron called after the European elections, where the far-right National Rally had a really good score. He thought, I'm going to surprise everybody. But what seemed to him like a stroke of genius really backfired. His bloc lost even more seats. Beforehand, he didn't have a clear majority. Now you've got 3 blocs in parliament. He then named a first prime minister in the autumn who only lasted for 3 months. And then since December, we had François Bayrou, who kind of sailed through the stormy sides, kind of managed to talk to various sides, various political parties, seemed to be able to survive until now, and then he called this vote of confidence. There's a clear difference in pegging the budget to a vote of confidence. That would have meant that the parties just didn't have to vote against him. But what the Prime Minister did was actually he went one step further. He said, you need to say, I trust you, for me to survive and then be able to present a budget, and that clearly was too much to ask, especially from the Socialist Party, who up until now was just, supporting him silently but not openly. That was one step too far, and that's how we got to this day, to the day where France again has no prime minister, no government again, which throws the country into turmoil, but also obviously Europe, because France is, the second biggest economy in Europe. It's really needed for the EU to move forward, to stand together, and also to stand together in the face of, international conflicts such as in Ukraine.
Oh, they need it for Ukraine. Yeah, so France got there effectively, and it was kind of buried in the details, but France got there because they thought, Marine Le Pen's party, that's terrible. We can't have them. So Macron did some political maneuvering and said, all right, I'll cut a deal with the left-wing parties instead, being the centrist party. And now there is no right-wing party to help balance Macron's party, because he has effectively outlawed them, similar to the largest economy of Europe, which is Germany. So,
Deutschland.
Yes, the Deutschland. Speaking of Deutschland, let's hear how the alternative for Deutschland is doing in the polls in Germany.
To the changing German
I don't have any clips on that, but we'll talk about it.
Political landscape and support for the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, is increasing. A new poll commissioned by the public broadcaster ARD shows the party at 25%, just behind the Chancellor's CDU party on 27%. It is the first time the AfD has reached that level in this poll. The Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Left Party, as you see, all lag well behind. Now, the AfD is benefiting from the current coalition government's unpopularity. It is less popular than the previous government led by Olaf Scholz was at the same point. And one of the biggest points of contention is the cost of the German welfare state.
Germany's welfare state, a cornerstone of its post-war democracy, redistributing wealth to help those in need to stand on their own 2 feet. But Chancellor Merz says it's unaffordable.
Wow, you don't say.
The welfare state that we have today can no longer be financed with what we produce in the economy. So we have to change it.
Every year, the government pays out billions in pensions for the elderly, funding for the healthcare insurance system, and support for the country's around 3 million unemployed. The projection for spending in 2026 shows the Labour and Social Affairs Ministry, responsible for pensioners and those without work, will account for 38% of the total budget, far more than any other ministry.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The same thing that's happening to France is happening to Germany. And what do they both have in common? They both kind of outlawed their far-right party from running. But also, you've got these two major economies, the largest economies in Europe, okay? Germany followed by France. And
the more important, yes, they outlaw political parties, but I think the underlying factor here is that they're complete and utter welfare states.
Yeah, and they can no longer afford, and I'm getting there, they can no longer afford the welfare state status because they're no longer being able to take advantage of the United States for all of these fundings of NATO, all of these trade agreements where we were getting tariffed on goods as kind of like a goodwill gesture to Europe. Because of the EU agreement that was created between Ursula von der Leyen and Trump and the requiring to pay their fair share into NATO, they can no longer afford to have all of these Medicare systems. Everything that the left-wing politicians here in the United States have been telling you about how great Europe is. You know, Europe does all this for this people. Europe does this. That was because we were financing it. And now that we're...
Yes, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called them welfare states. A more accurate term would be welfare vassals.
Yes, exactly. So we're no longer giving them the money that they need by way of trade and all this stuff. We're not getting them sweetheart deals that they were accustomed to. So all of those things that they were offering their citizens and everything that we as Americans were indirectly paying for is going away, and they're going to have to figure out how to live life without them. So it's not. I'm not happy. You know, I'm very sorry to our French and German listeners. That, you know, life might get a little tougher for them. But at the same time, it's kind of like welcome. You know, welcome to the club. You will pay taxes and get nothing in return. That is the American way. You'll get 20-year wars and nothing to show for it. So let's talk a little bit more about this. We'll go into the problems with the welfare state and, you know, problems with the coalition. So again, it's a coalition. You have Olaf Scholz, who has struck these deals with these more left-wing parties, you know, the more socialist parties. And so it all depends on a coalition, all because they didn't want the AfD to be anywhere near power or to have any sort of say in governing. So they refused to make a coalition for them. So they are stuck with these kind of more left-wing social democrat parties and whatnot. Germany's interesting. They got like 18 political parties. I think 6 of which are fairly prominent. But we'll hear about the problems.
But Social Democrat Party co-leader Bärbel Baas, who is also the Social Affairs Minister, used a strong expletive when she dismissed the idea that Germany can no longer afford its welfare state.
This debate that we can no longer afford our social insurance systems and our welfare state is, and I apologize for the language, bull.
In fact,
I like how they even like dubbed out her saying it in German.
Yeah.
In fact, when compared to the size of its economy, Germany's social spending is similar to that of other industrialized countries. But in addition to the cost, the welfare system is complex. It tries to address not just poverty, but also the needs of families and those with disabilities, as well as issues like housing. Trimming bits off it would not be easy, not least because many of these commitments are enshrined in law. Despite her criticisms, the SPD's Bärbel Baas agrees reform is needed. And while Friedrich Merz wants to reduce the social spend, for instance by cutting payments to the unemployed if they fail to turn up to job appointments, he's not questioning the principle.
We agree that we want to preserve the welfare state.
So for now, the government parties are claiming they're back in harmony, despite divisions over how to pay for welfare.
Right, yeah, they're back in harmony, for sure. No, they're back in trying to prevent what just happened in France and say, no, we got this, we'll figure it out, we're good. Because they're afraid of the AfD, and the AfD is gaining ground. And in fact, these brave European nations like France and Germany who, for the sake of democracy, have decided to suspend democracy from the people, saying you can't vote for these parties. We're going to lock up Marine Le Pen for doing what every other politician has done. We're going to pretty much label the AfD as a terrorist group within our own country. You made your bed, and now you're going to have to sleep in it. But I like this last clip here, and this talks about kind of the growing support for the AfD and why the current government is so unpopular. Who could have seen that coming?
Right, and as we're pointing out, support for the far-right AfD is growing. This poll, we see the party reaching 25% for the first time. Could the government handling of the welfare reform potentially push more voters to the AfD?
Yes, that is actually not to be excluded. The AfD is making inroads in traditional voters that used to vote for the Social Democrats, for instance, workers, the unemployed, people who are very worried about their future. And these are basically the clients of the social welfare system. So there is a possibility that might be the case. The AfD is basically tapping into this fear of the future and to this general dissatisfaction in Germany, into the fear that people have that in future their standard of living might be reduced, especially in their old age. And the social welfare system, of course, is exactly the system that is trying to address those fears. So yes, I think by reducing welfare spending, there is a chance that the AfD will in fact grow.
And just very quickly, Hans, before I let you go, what the poll is also showing that this government isn't doing very well with the public in Germany. Why is the government so unpopular right now?
There's two aspects to this. One is the fact that it is a coalition government, a coalition between basically political rivals, the Conservatives, which are the bigger party, and the Social Democrats. The reason for that coalition is, in fact, the strength of the AfD. Because the AfD is so strong, these two parties have been forced into having a coalition government. So they don't agree very much. There is a lot of dispute, a lot of this debate within the government, and that basically makes them less popular. And at the same time, obviously, the problems that governments face across the world at the moment are huge, from climate change to the rise of China, the rise of Russia, Donald Trump in the United States. So governing is very difficult, and that makes it difficult to find support amongst voters.
The vote amongst voters. So the poll, I don't know if I did a good job pointing it out, but at the beginning of the clip says 25% support for the AfD in Germany. That's 1 in 4 Germans. Every fourth German you ask is for the AfD. So it's kind of interesting. And I would love for these politicians to come out and say, look, Olaf Scholz, you can't have your bratwurst, and Macron, you can't have your croissant, because we need to continue to fight this war in Ukraine, because if we give Russia the perception that they might have won or something, we would have egg on our face. So, no bratwurst for you.
Well, on a related note, Macron, a couple minutes ago, appointed his defense minister as the new prime minister, which could be a coincidence, but Poland also closed its airspace, or parts of its airspace, and there are reports of Russian drones entering Polish airspace.
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, I hope to God we take a beat and let that say. Is that really true? The drones in Polish airspace?
I'm seeing it. I haven't seen anything really concrete.
The last time it happened, it was a drone that was shot down and it landed in a farm field. Did it kill a farmer?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It did.
That's it.
But they said it was a Russian missile that time, but it was actually a Ukrainian missile.
Yep. Russian drones have recently entered Polish airspace, prompting Poland to activate its air defenses and scramble military aircraft to ensure safety. The situation has raised concern about potential provocations against NATO countries. Oh, here's the title. Here's this one. Ukraine warns of Russian drones in Poland's airspace as aircrafts are activated. They've never, lied about something and tried to get Article 5 enacted right away.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I'll believe that when the smoke settles, but I don't think there's going to be much smoke. Yeah, every article starts off, Ukraine's Air Force warns.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And, of course, they're saying they're Shahed drones.
That's a whole lot of nothing. Let me know when one hits. then I'll start trying to find my draft papers. Perfect. What do you have?
Oh, well, let's see. Since we're talking about the world order, if you will, I want to go to the climate folder. And are you familiar with Sal Mercogliano?
Doesn't ring a bell.
What's going on with shipping guy?
No.
Anyway, Sal Mercogliano has a YouTube channel called What's Going On with Shipping. And it's very technical. He is a man of the trade, but it often has some very good information. And I clipped one of his videos for this segment. This has to do with climate on the surface, but it actually is going to be a pretty tense geopolitical issue in the next few weeks. So let's get into this with net zero shipping. Sal Mercogliano.
The German.
President Trump has made it clear that the United States will not accept any international environmental agreement that unduly or unfairly burdens the United States or harms the interests of the American people, reads the joint statement. The Trump administration's statement claims the framework would, quote, conveniently benefit China by requiring the use of expensive fuels unavailable at global scale. It further argues that the standards would, quote, preclude the use of proven technologies that fuel global shipping fleets, including lower emissions options where U.S. industry leads, such as liquefied natural gas and biofuels. The statement goes on, quote, the Trump administration unequivocally rejects the proposal before the IMO and will not tolerate any action that increase costs for our citizen energy providers, shipping companies, and their customers or tourists. We will fight hard to protect the American people and their economic interests. It concluded with what appears to be a direct warning to IMO members. Quote, our fellow IMO members should be on notice that we will look for their support against this action and not hesitate to retaliate or explore remedies for our citizens should this endeavor fail. So this is a kind of shot across the bow by the Trump administration about this greenhouse gas emission, this net zero framework that is going into place. According to Dutch officials, they were verbally warned of consequences should they back this deal. Privately, however, there is a concern that the U.S. could scupper, great maritime term right there, the framework with the initial vote at IMO requiring a 2/3 majority of member states, but also for those that vote to adopt the proposal should represent more than 50% of world tonnage. If you want 50% of world tonnage, Panama, Liberia, Marshall Islands, and Hong Kong do that, just 4 states.
Okay, so what is this? This is a proposal that was part of the net zero plan that changes the shipping fuels that have to be used when goods are being shipped between nations that are part of this agreement. And the nations themselves have to inspect and certify that these fuels are being used. Now, this has to go to a vote, as he implied, and you've got different factions. I don't want to give away the game here. you've got different factions that are on each side of this, whether to adopt the net zero rules or whether to not adopt the net zero rules. And let's hear about the pathway or how this policy would be approved if it were approved.
Now, the policy at the IMO meeting will be decided by the 108 members that have ratified MARPOL. This is the Marine Pollution Act, Annex 6. A two-thirds majority, 72 nations, will need to back the IMO proposal in the first instance. Then a calculation will be made as to whether those who approve the regulations represent 50% of the global tonnage. If China and Hong Kong vote to approve the framework, but the U.S. is successful in lobbying Liberia, Panama, and the Marshall Islands, who represent about 43% of the global tonnage, the U.S. may target smaller island states such as Malta and Cyprus, whose flags constitute 5.6 and 1.4% of the world tonnage. The United States is going to leverage quite a bit not to get this passed. You'll notice it was African states that are opposing this. Africa's states right now, their largest trading partner is not the United States, it is China. And what China's trying to do is get more of the 108 members on their side and get enough tonnage included in there so they can get over that two-thirds hurdle. This is going to be a big issue. If the net zero framework passes and it goes into effect 16 months later in 2027, then if the U.S. does not acknowledge this, number one, it's not going to enforce it in U.S. waters, but it's going to have a problem if it's enforced on U.S. ships. Now, U.S. ships represent a small majority of the global ships, less than 2%. So, but if it is enforced, that is going to be a problem. But what we can expect to force this vote is going to be threats of increased tariffs against nation states that vote in favor of this. We already saw this happen when India was forced to basically back away from Russian oil because tariffs were leveled at a much higher rate. We just had a statement out of India today from Prime Minister Modi talking about a new agreement between the U.S. and India on trade relations. We'll assume that there is some sort of agreement in place regarding Russian oil. This is going to be a big issue. This is going to be a big one. The U.S. does not like the idea of a global tax.
Now, I didn't even consider our previous discussion about the need to supply India with substitute oil when we were discussing Venezuela earlier. But that has to play into the calculus.
Oh, absolutely.
So, what you have here is the U.S. saying, we don't want this. We're going to try to whip the votes, basically, to so that it doesn't get passed. But the U.S. fleet only accounts for about 2.5% of global shipping. So why is this such a big deal? Well, there's a major beneficiary if you have to upgrade the world's shipping fleets to meet these new standards. Who would that beneficiary be, Dan?
Who's making ships? I don't even know. Is that who were the submarines? Who was making the ships? Is it Europe?
No, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Okay. I'll play it.
The other one who benefits greatly by this is China. I can't tell you how much China benefits from this. Actually,
because they make the ships.
Right now. China benefits by this very simple. If you start creating issues like, for example, you need ammonia fuel or if you need hydrogen, that means you've got
all
to
the
start
alternative
scrapping
resources.
older ships and building new ships or converting ships over to those uses. Well, that means who's ever the biggest shipbuilder in the world is benefiting greatly from that. And the biggest shipbuilder in the world right now is located right here in East Asia. There are 3 countries, Japan, Korea, but the biggest one of them all is China. China builds over 60% of the world's ships. They are stealing percentages from Japan and South Korea. They are the dominant force. If all of a sudden the global fleet in March of 2027 starts becoming uneconomical because of the fuel it burns, they've got to go get those engines either modified or build new ships. And if you're China and you've just announced the world's largest conglomerate incorporation of the 2 biggest shipyards on the planet, this is news for you. And this goes toward an American strategy about diminishing Chinese maritime influence. We saw that in the U.S. Trade Representative's report out there. Did a whole video on talking about this when the Trade Representative had his report out, and how China is absolutely dominating the maritime sector. It was part also of the president's executive order, which we talked about too. So this is part of a larger strategy. The U.S. is finally kind of waking up to the IMO being important. It's a key organization out there because, remember, it's regulating everything, not just beyond the 12-mile limit, but through the port state agreement memorandums. The enforcement of these rules are being done by the 108 member nation states around the planet.
Yeah, TikTok's going to pick up this week, encouraging people to destroy priceless art and glue themselves to the road in order to get this passed. I should have guessed China. I mean, duh. Man, that's awesome. That's a pretty great clip there. You know what's funny about it though is Europe will probably push for it as well, just because it's the very European thing to do.
Yeah, and I don't know if they'll push for it knowing the stakes, or if they'll just push for it because, talking points.
Have you had a conversation with a European? You can't have a conversation without a European without them bringing up climate change and how important it is to solve climate change.
There's your answer.
So, they're going to get hit in the head on this this and that. It's like...
Well, they're welfare brain.
Well, that's
what that is.
Here's European news. Russia is terrible. Climate change is terrible. Trump is terrible. That's European news. That is I love the DW because I know their biases. But that is the DW in a nutshell.
Those biases come from a place of entitlement. And I am more than happy that their entitlement is going away.
And, all of this, like the Tom Luongo theory on Ukraine and a lot of the moves, like the move from LIBOR to, I forget what we even call our loan rate. You might know. SOFR. Yeah, the secured overnight finance rate. It all makes sense now, as it's a big war on Europe. Not a war on Europe, but getting back control of our dollar from Europe.
It's a war on leeches.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing it. You're seeing the effects of what this war is causing on Europe now, where these coalition parties have they're falling apart. Both Germany and France, the largest economies, pretty much Europe in a nutshell. If you define Europe, it's Germany and France, and then it's a bunch of other countries that are very much struggling to provide for their populace: Spain, Italy, Portugal, Greece, that whole to do. So this is very interesting. It's a dense subject matter, but it is very much applicable to the things that we've been talking about consistently. So kudos, job well done.
Thank you.
Of course. You have any more stuff like that? I've got one clip out of Africa, and that's it. And I'm pretty much clipped.
No, mine is actually back domestic, more or less, because it has to do with immigration and potentially it touches on our relation with South Korea, but it's more immigration.
Gotcha. Well, I'll play the Africa clip. Ethiopia, the makers of some of the best coffee in the world, have reached a milestone. And it's one that we've mentioned before, but basically they've finished their large mega dam on the Nile, and it talks about the other people that are all pissed off about it.
They made an electric
Sitting
car.
nearly 2 kilometers long.
They did not make an electric car. That's Burkina Faso put some Burkina Faso on a Chinese car. But yes, here we go.
Sitting nearly 2 kilometers long across the Blue Nile, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a source of pride for Ethiopians. Through bonds and cash contributions, they covered most of the $4 billion price tag. But downstream, Sudan and Egypt have so far failed to reach agreement with Ethiopia about how the dam will operate, particularly in times of drought. Egypt is worried about the effect on the Aswan Dam. An international team of scientists has a solution, but it's not been taken up.
We fixed a level for the Aswan High Dam, and we said that okay, you can construct any dams you want and operate it in any way you want, as long as that at that level of the Aswan High Dam is maintained, and it's the critical level below which the things become problematic for Egypt.
Egypt relies on the Nile for 97% of its fresh water. And Egypt is also concerned about the dam being built in an area of seismic activity. Powerless to influence the running of the dam, Egypt and Sudan have been left shouting from the sidelines, most recently issuing a statement.
Both parties agreed that the Ethiopian dam has serious repercussions for downstream countries, especially with regard to the serious risks resulting from Ethiopia's unilateral steps to fill and operate the dam. Ethiopia must adjust its policy in the Eastern Nile Basin to restore cooperation between the basin countries.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister insists downstream countries have nothing to worry about.
If you examine the dams in Sudan and Egypt, you'll see they still hold sufficient water. Not a single litre has been reduced. We have no desire to put them in danger. At the same time, this does not mean we must sacrifice our own interests. On the contrary, we must use our own resources wisely while ensuring others are not harmed.
Ethiopia's government wants the dam, set to be inaugurated on Tuesday, to transform the lives of millions of its citizens. Only around half the population of 132 million people have access to electricity. With less than a year to go before elections here, the timing of the official opening of the dam might be seen as a welcome diversion for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. It's one of the rare unifying events for Ethiopians in a country struggling with armed conflict or instability in 3 regions, as well as high unemployment and high inflation.
Lots of struggles and conflicts there. You got Sudan in that civil war, which is terrible and no one talks about. And you got Egypt all mad downstream of the Nile, which I've kind of thought was, it's interesting. You know, when you think of downstream, I think of running from north to south, like the Mississippi River. But because it's on the southern hemisphere, upstream is, Egypt. And so it was like, it was kind of interesting to wrap my head around that as I was looking at the map. But I don't know. I think this could be one of the flashpoints that our Blackwater guy was talking about. Right there, the Ethiopian dam. I think that's actually when we were talking about the events in Sudan. The Ethiopian dam was one of the flashpoints, kind of potential causes for it, because they've been building this for a long time. $4 billion, which is a lot of dollars considering half of the people in the country don't have a lot of power. But this is evidently going to solve that. At least that's the marketing point that they use to get it done. But I think Ethiopia is sitting pretty right now, as far as Sudan can't really mount any sort of comeback. They can't even take care of their own issues. And Egypt just collects money by running a pass through over to Europe. So,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
And collects money for not intervening in Israel.
Pretty much. That's pretty much it. We'll give you the port money, and you get to keep it. Just behave. And don't accept any Palestinians, whatever you do. I don't think they want any. But that being said,
I don't think they want any.
That's it. That taps me out for, I have a fun clip kind of to end on, but other than that, I'm tapped out.
Okay, well, let's hop over to North Korea. And have you heard about this North Korean mission from 2019 that supposedly was unsuccessful?
No, I hadn't heard this at all.
Okay, you'll enjoy this. NBC SEAL Team 6.
Oh, boy.
In military.
On a frigid night under the cover of darkness, a group of U.S. Navy SEALs boarded a submarine like this one and quietly made their way to the shores of North Korea, unaware that their top secret mission was about to turn deadly, say 3 former U.S. officials familiar with the operation. The undisclosed 2019 mission, first reported by the New York Times, was intended to plant a listening device to spy on reclusive North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, according to the officials, who confirmed the details of the plan to NBC News. They say the SEALs used 2 mini-subs to get as close to the shore as possible. Riding with open hatches, they used heated dive suits to protect from the freezing water. The SEALs swam the final stretch to shore. Their number one priority, move undetected. They cut all communication, and unlike most missions, they had no drones overhead to warn about possible dangers. So when the SEALs caught sight of a North Korean boat, they had no one to ask for permission and acted immediately, shooting everyone on board. Once they got to the boat, there were no weapons and no uniforms. The men appeared to be fishermen. The SEALs issued a distress call and left without planning the listening device, according to the officials. The mission, approved by President Trump, took place within days of his 2019 nuclear summit with Kim Jong-un. Today, the president denied any knowledge of the operation.
I'm hearing it now for the first time.
The officials say it's not clear whether North Korea ever knew U.S. Navy SEALs were on their shores. The Pentagon declined to comment.
Well, they know now. That's for sure. They know now. Yeah, I don't know. What are we doing messing around? He can't. Kim Jong-un is like the biggest paper tiger I've ever heard of. Oh no, they built a ICBM. Oh, they have these spy submarines. The spy submarines were put together with spare scrap metal. When they did the propaganda photo in front of it, it looked ridiculous. I don't know why we're wasting our time with North Korea at all, but
I don't know that this actually happened.
I mean,
this is one of those things that I'm highly skeptical of because of primarily the point you make, but because of some of the detail that was released to the New York Times by people familiar with the matter. I think this is to introduce information warfare into Pyongyang.
Yeah, we killed some of your fishermen off the coast. The details are rather specific. Like they killed the fishermen. Their cover was blown. They killed these fishermen. Oh, that's not military at all.
Well, the thinking, and this is your 44D chess hat. The thinking is that you leak that it was unsuccessful, but Pyongyang is going to know that it was actually successful, and the hope is that they'll spend the next week tearing apart the presidential palace looking for listening devices.
We're just effing with them. So somebody leaks this story to the New York Times. I like that. That's pretty funny, actually. I don't even think that's 4D chess. That's just like good old-fashioned Richard Nixon tactics right there. Oh, yeah, aliens are totally real. Oh, man. That is funny. Yeah.
And then if we want to do this immigration report, this is from CNN, and it has to do with the Hyundai plant.
Oh, yeah.
And the ICE raid on the Hyundai plant.
South Korea's foreign minister will head to the US as the two countries deal with the fallout of last week's massive immigration raid in Georgia. The US and South Korea have struck a deal to send roughly 300 workers home after they were detained by federal agents. The workers were among 475 people detained on Thursday during a large-scale raid at a plant solution.
Hyundai. Were these South Koreans?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Sending them home to South Korea.
Yes. And what's funny is the TikTok leftists, which I didn't pull because of this stupid Israel bombing Qatar that's not going to matter in 3 days. What I didn't pull were the leftists on TikTok saying, well, your plant in Georgia is going to close now because these South Koreans were here teaching the stupid Americans how to do their job.
I had heard, I like the mic bump for extra emphasis. That's good. I had heard that the Hyundai plant was like locking people inside until they met quotas and stuff. Did you hear that?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Maybe it's propaganda. I don't know. It's potential. I assume, I used to assume everything was propaganda, and then I went for a week. I took a week off, and all of a sudden I'm falling for stuff again. So we'll see.
Well, did they also not allow them to eat dog while they were locked in the
Probably. All the good stuff. You know, bear is effectively dog, right? Just bigger, fatter
Yes,
dog.
I have always, on a very metaphysical level, I've always considered bears to be big dogs.
I mean, they kind of are. They're goofy looking. Like, I'll be watching these Tacticam feeds, and you see them, like, sitting down, and they're scooping out food and laying down and pretty much, like, wagging their butts when they come across the food. They're, like, super excited. And then you shoot them. But, yeah, they can't eat their dogs in the plan. All of the freedoms we once had, gone.
Yeah. Okay. So let's hear Mike Valeria's report from Georgia.
Very well.
CNN's Mike Valerio joins me now from Seoul with more on this. Good to see you, Mike. So what's been the reaction to all of this in South Korea?
Rosemary, I think the best way to capture the reaction is to describe people being astonished. Astonished to see the treatment of their citizens. And really, I think that there is, from the people we talk to on the streets of Seoul, when we're looking at social media and opinion columns in the newspapers, there certainly is the understanding that every country needs to uphold its immigration laws. But what people don't seem to understand when we're doing interviews is why couldn't ICE, from their point of view, go to this mega facility and say, you know what, I think there was a problem with XYZ section of your visa for this person and that person. The way that this was handled, showing up without warning and putting chains around people's waists, leading them out with handcuffs, and then leading them out to detention, that certainly has struck an emotional chord with people. And describing that emotional chord, it's certainly an undercurrent of unease. America is such a friend to South Korea, with nearly 30,000 troops who are stationed here on the Korean Peninsula as a counter to China and North Korea. Trade and cultural ties very strong. And then you have this, that certainly is leading people in business to question, how will investments go forward? How exactly will they position their people going forward? In case in point, we had LG Energy Solution, the company that is partnering with Hyundai, at least in the EV battery part.
Why is everyone saying like that?
I don't know. I don't know why. That was the reason I was doing my best.
It's always been Hyundai. It's always been Hyundai. As long as I've been alive, it's been Hyundai. It's not.
It's just Hyundai.
Yeah.
It's Hyundai. It's Hyundai. It's not Hyundai.
Hyundai. Johnson.
Solution, the company that is partnering with Hyundai, at least in the EV battery part.
I will. Hold on, I want to hear him say it one more time because he sounds like such an ass.
The company that is partnering with Hyundai, at least in the EV battery part of this mega facility in Georgia, suspending most business trips until further notice, and telling their people, Rosemary, that if they are in the United States, they either need to remain in their accommodations or come home immediately.
So, I mean, were these people here illegally?
Yes.
Well, then what's the problem?
The problem is that they're not brown, and we put chains on them.
Oh. Chains exclusively for brown people, says the liberal left.
Yes. That's literally the argument from the more sophisticated side is, well, it's not about the fact that they carried out the immigration raid. It's how they did it.
Well, the guy even said how we're treating our citizens. It's like they're not our citizens. That's why they're in the predicament that they're in. I don't know.
Oh, they're Hyundai citizens.
Anything for the narrative. Hyundai.
Okay, let's hear the rap.
And as we wrap up here, the broader context of this all happened fewer than 2 weeks after South Korea's president, Lee Jae-myung, was in the White House, in the Oval Office, having a good meeting with President Trump, touting all of the investment possibilities of how South Korea could help make American manufacturing and industry great again. So when you have this unfolding...
That's probably why it happened. Hey, make sure none of those South Koreans are illegal.
Certainly, officials here in Seoul are trying to resolve this as quickly as possible. We do see President Trump posting on Truth a few hours ago saying that all foreign international investment is welcome. He wants people to be in the United States legally. So in some, it's just the manner that this was done. Again, striking a chord with people, and we're waiting to see when exactly the more than 300 people are set to return to South Korea. It could be towards the middle of this week, but we're still firming up our reporting on that front, Rosemary.
Oh, man. I bet the people over at Toyota are really nervous now, too.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, I've got one more clip in this immigration folder, and it is about the salt trucks in Chicago. And now, ICE has been rolling out and rolling people up in Chicago. And this, I don't know how to present this, because it's one of those things that I don't know if it is what people say it is. Because what happened is the end result that we're going to hear in this Cult College account clip is that the salt trucks were misinformation to discourage the people resisting ICE. That's the conclusion we're going to come to.
I get you. So it's like the new boots or whatever, or fancy boots or whatever that saying was.
Well, no, not exactly. Let's listen to the clip, and then I'll piece it together of what they think happened. And I don't know what exactly happened, or if what they think is right. Most of the time, what they think is completely wrong. So that's why I'm skeptical. But this is an account on TikTok called Cult College, and she's going to explain something about these salt trucks in Chicago.
I've got 2 corrections from things I've posted or reposted that I want to make sure people see, so I have it on my other channel and this page too. The first one is those salt trucks in Chicago are not there to keep ICE out of the city. They were there for a festival. I don't know why someone did that, but it's very counterproductive when they do that. And, you know, I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, like, holy cow, the mayor's doing that. That's impressive. Repost. And then I saw everyone else reposting it, and it was like this feel-good moment, right? It makes you hopeful. But that's the problem. We're putting hope in a politician. We're putting hope somewhere else outside ourselves. We're the hope. We're the ones. No one else is coming to save us. And when you see videos like that, it makes people go, oh, we're going to be okay because our leaders are going to save us. Don't ever think that for a second. It will endanger you. It endangers everybody, and it makes us weak. It weakens us because we're not preparing. And so, that sucks. But at the same time, it's us. We the people.
We the people. Cute winter boots is what I was thinking of, which was code for guns.
Yeah. Yes. But this isn't code. The talking point was going around, or the narrative was going around the leftist social media, that the mayor was resisting with the salt trucks.
It was,
and
like,
then
symbolic.
They realized they got duped, and the salt trucks are just doing what the city does with salt trucks. And they're saying, well, we didn't get duped because we just took something out of context. We got duped because this is the administration and their allies putting this out on purpose to deceive us and to keep us to lower morale, basically, which I don't think there's any evidence of that. I don't know that there would be. I just think maybe someone on the left saw the salt trucks and took a video of them, or saw a video of them and said, well, I don't know why these many salt trucks would be out, so they must be to further my cause.
A symbolism. The bat signal, if you will. Basically, Brandon Johnson saying, look, we got the salt trucks out as a symbol because salt melts ice.
See, I don't think they even went as far as getting symbolic about it. I just think the narrative actually was going around that they were blocking ICE from entering the city with salt trucks. And I know that's much more stupid than the symbolism, but that's the actual narrative that was going around. And now every single leftist content creator has to issue their correction.
Why don't they just stand and do, like, maybe the same thing that protects you from witches? You remember the circle of salt around you and the witches can't get you? It's like the same thing. Maybe they should all do that. That'll be great. The people over at Morton support this message.
Yes. Yes. But what I will say is, even though I don't know if this was people sympathetic to the administration putting this bait out there about the salt trucks, and if they did, it would be bait for the leftists to pick up and run with, demoralization bait. But what I do know is that some script went out to all of the leftist content creators about how this kind of misinformation is meant to demoralize us. Don't lose hope. Every single one that I saw had that line in it. This is meant to demoralize us. You can't lose hope. I saw it probably 15 times, and I wish I had pulled that many clips and put them together. But what can I say? I'm an amateur.
Yeah, it's really the tactic of a powerless person, is when you say don't lose hope. It's usually when most hope is lost. You know what I mean? It's already lost. Don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, 12:30 p.m. election night. Don't lose hope. We're still in this. We're going to fight. No, you're not. Pennsylvania went red. You're screwed. There's no way you win without it. So
Trump has the real watermarked ballots on a server in Germany.
Right. There was still waiting on reporting from Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah, Paducah.
All right.
Quantum dots on the ballot.
There you go. That's it. That's the hope. That's powerless. So there's the hot mic issue with Putin and Xi, which I didn't think was, but they were talking about living to about 150 years old. And, it was kind of a throwaway topic. But the DW decides, you know what, we're going to make a 12-minute segment out of this. I didn't bring all 12 minutes because I'm not a madman, but I got 3 clips out of it. And basically they have this aging scientist on, or scientist that focuses on this stuff. And the DW guy's trying to dismiss it, and the expert they have on is like...
I thought you meant an old guy.
I mean, he is old. He's got this very long beard. He looks like Father Time himself.
The aging scientist?
Yeah, this dude looks like he took a break from ripping bongs to do this DW interview, but I'll play all this anyways.
An unguarded hot mic moment in Beijing yesterday caught Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping musing about living to be 150 or even becoming immortal through organ transplants and biotech. The Russian and Chinese leaders were picked up discussing radical life extension as they walked on a red carpet in the Chinese capital. Now, both men are 72 years old. Putin suggested humans could grow younger by replacing failing organs, while Xi pointed to predictions of lifespans reaching 150 this century. But scientists say immortality remains far-fetched. Experts note that despite advances in health, no one has surpassed the 122-year record set in 1997. Joining me now is Aubrey de Grey. He's president and chief science officer of LEV Foundation. That's an organization dedicated to preventing and reversing age-related disease. He joins me from California. Mr. de Grey, it's good to have you on the program. What do you think? Xi Jinping says we could see someone living to be 150 this century. Do you share his optimism?
Oh, for sure. It's virtually certain that that will happen, I would say. The control of the decline that we see in old age at the moment may be as little as 12 to 15 years away from being achieved.
Wow.
We still have plenty to do to get there, but progress is rapidly accelerating. We've seen far more progress against the health problems of late life in the laboratory in the past decade than we saw in the previous few decades. And translating that to the clinic can happen a lot faster than translation normally happens if and when humanity finally decides that aging is an actual medical problem that can be addressed.
Ah, yes. Living, aging, and dying, a thing that's nature has done since its origin. That's a health problem that we can address. I don't like it. I'm going to skip the second clip because it's basically what has to happen. The last one is concerns about increased lifespan.
Is this miraculous progress that you're speaking of, is it going to be expensive? I mean, if this is widely adopted or not, could we see a two-class society developing where the rich live longer, healthier lives, the poor do not?
I got a fun
There's absolutely
answer
no
for
chance
this.
of that. We can see that just by looking at today's world, when obviously these treatments do not yet exist, and seeing how expensive it is to keep people alive in a poor state of health, even though we can't even do that for very long. We are spending the most insane amount on that, and therefore the sheer, simple, mercenary economic imperative will be to front-load the investment to ensure that everybody who is old enough to need these rejuvenation treatments will be able to access them irrespective of ability to pay, because those treatments will pay for themselves at the national level many times over, very quickly indeed.
What about the numbers of people? The Earth is already having difficulty supporting the current population. Should we really be trying to double life expectancies while we're facing, limited resources and we're looking at our planet deteriorating before our very eyes?
I say again, John, this is a European news source, the DW.
Yes.
Putin is bad. Trump is bad. Climate change is bad.
Well, the first thing you have to remember is that the impact of having 8 billion people on the planet is not a question of not having enough space. It's a question of making too much pollution, whether it's pumping carbon into the atmosphere or making plastics that accumulate in the oceans or whatever. And of course, other researchers are working hand over fist to address those problems. So we can be absolutely sure that within the next couple of decades, way before there are any demographic consequences of bringing aging under medical control, the environmental impact of humanity will be diminishing. In other words, any kind of overpopulation problem will actually diminish over time.
There you go. Easy peasy. The part that I thought was interesting was he brought up the two-class system where rich people live forever and poor people, just live their normal 80 years and die, piss off and die. But what's interesting is I agree with the scientist here where everyone will be able to get this operation because the rich people, they need slaves. They need people to continually rent from them. They need people to make their cheap goods that they're going to sell over. And so why not have those people live forever? Just makes more sense. So the way you solve the population crisis is not by having more babies, but is by preserving people's lives. 150 years.
I saw this hot mic moment, and I know this may seem like the theme of the night for me, but I saw this as a reverse space race. Xi and Putin are at lesser risk to suffer hot mic moments than other leaders if we believe what we're told about their openness or lack thereof to the media, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we get this hot mic moment about living to 150, maybe even forever. They're fully aware of Trump's conceited nature. Trump loves Trump.
He's like, we got to figure out how do we do that?
Exactly.
How do I live forever?
Exactly.
Let's
that
not
was
pivot
my
to
first thought.
Yeah.
Let's pivot to effective kidney transplants.
And you know what else about that theory that I like is the media group had released it. I forget, I think it was Reuters, but Reuters had to pull down a story about this hot mic moment because the clip was leased from some Chinese media group, and the Chinese media group reached out and said, no, you got to take it down. That's ours. You can't spread that around, creating this illusion that China didn't want that out there.
Yes.
There you go. Wow. Everyone.
It's information warfare everywhere you look.
That's crazy, man. 5th gen warfare is insane, and everyone is too busy bitching about Cracker Barrel to notice. What a time to live in. What a time. You know, everyone wanted to talk about woke stuff and whatnot up at the bear camp. I didn't tell you this.
I hate that.
I talked to a guy. He was part of the, I think, Global Monetary Organization. World Bank, Washington, D.C. Yeah, this guy was part of the World Bank Group, the WBG in Washington, D.C., and pretty much they provide loans to developing countries. And I got into a pretty good conversation with him about Confessions of an Economic Hitman and how we kind of enslaved South America in the 60s. And he said, and I said, I believe China is doing the same thing to Africa. And he said, I concur. And like, this guy would know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would know. So, not going to say.
Or he would have a good place to do analysis.
He's somebody that if he said, yeah, that is absolutely happening, which he did, it was like, wow. You know, here we are, just two randos with a microphone, and this guy who's kind of on the inside of global finance and developing countries and funding, and he was like, yeah, that's what's going on. So we got our finger on some sort of pulse.
I hope you gave some people some opportunities to maybe listen.
I did. I wore a lot of MMO shirts, and I brought it up, not overly, like, you got to listen to my podcast, but, you know, when they were talking about certain things, like I brought up the noticing of using the pride flags in European protests against the far-right movements, and at least two guys were like, what's your podcast called? They're like, oh, that's interesting. I got to hear that. So might have some new listeners. Let us know if you're from Bear Camp. Love to have some Bear Camp guys on here.
Yeah.
I know, Bear Camp sounds kind of gay. Just a bunch of
we're going to get a flood of interest in the Bear Camp.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I heard there are bears over here.
How much do I have to donate?
That's a whole lot more than you think. Trust me.
Hi, my name's Bot Skessent.
Bot Skessent. I love that. I hope somebody punches me in the effing face. You want to get out of here?
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. I agree with that. Too fun. I think we had a double fun podcast tonight because we took a week off.
We just got to keep it up. We just got to imagine, you got to dream about taking another week off before next Tuesday.
That's right.
And it does get tiresome to do this week in and week out, but it's all part of it, and we're learning as we go. I mean, we've only done 185 shows of this, which in the long scheme of things isn't too many.
No. It is amazing, though, to see that number climbing. That's like, what did we talk about for 184 episodes?
You don't ask me, because in 20 minutes when we're through doing the post-production, I won't know what we talked about tonight.
That's exactly it. I have to look at our clip list in order to generate the little thing that we do.
Because you're in it.
That's right. When you're in the fray, you've got no time to think about what you're saying. You just say it.
You just say it.
Oh, man. Good to be back. Thank you for everyone that came out tonight and sent in donos. It's good to see you. Good to see new names on the list, too. Always appreciated.
And if you are new and you've made it this far, thank you for listening. And, my wife just said she killed an armadillo on the way here. Anyway, if you are new and you made it this far, thanks for listening. We hope you join us again every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Send us a note. Let us know you're new. Let us know you loved it. Let us know you hated it. Let us know what you liked or didn't like. We function with your feedback and your feedback only, whether it's information, whether it's monetary feedback, or whether it's artistic feedback. We need it. We cherish it, and we're going to put it right back into the product next week.
Amen, brother. And from St. Louis, Missouri, I've been Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where it's good to be back, I've been John G. Dew.
And when you're hiking in the reserves, Indian reservations, a mile out at 8:30 p.m., make sure you charge your flashlight, because it is a pit-drop stomach feeling when your flashlight goes dead in the middle of the woods, surrounded by bears. But luckily I had one in the slide and loaded. MMO out. Oh, Cousin Vito joined just to hear MMO out. Perfect. Welcome, Cousin Vito.
You want to do the show again for him?
Yeah, I think we might as well. It was a short show. It was good. It was a good show with lots of content and good commentary. And someone mentioned horse goo.
Yes, much to my chagrin, someone mentioned horse goo.
Much to your chagrin.
You gotta talk into it. You gotta say blah 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 blah.
Hello. Hello, baby do. You've got that mic in front of you. Hello, baby do. How do you do? You've got that mic in front of you. Give us a word or a phrase or two.